I can't do it. We'll do it live. Okay. Do it live! I'll write it and we'll do it live!
Time to rise and grind.
Are you kidding me? Holy on smoke!
And let's get this banter going.
It's bacon!
This is Snowman in the morning.
Does anybody else feel like a fried egg?
And it begins now.
I want you to get up now. I want all of you to get up out of your chairs. I want you to get up right now and go to the window, open it, and stick your head out and yell,
I think I just broke my chair. He did what?
Has anybody ever told you you have a serious impulse control problem?
There is but one cause for me to follow. Almighty the Bum!
And here we go.
Oh, yeah!
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to this edition of Snowman in the Morning. And, man, I had a couple of pieces really cranked up for this morning. But then I saw highlights, if you will, of the celebration of life for Kobe Bryant, Gianna Bryant, and the other 7 victims, including the Altobelli family that lost their lives January 26th in a helicopter crash. And I said, you know, I'm changing my opening. But before I make the full change, let me say thank you to those of you that are listening to us on the RTF Sports Network, rtfsportsnetwork.com, full press coverage, fullpresscoverage.com, and also KSRN Arizona, Casual Sports Arizona. And we got a few more things in the works. And I want to thank everybody that tuned us in. And one of the sites that I did miss, KSRNAZ.com. KSRNAZ.com. We are also a part of the Stables Network based out of Los Angeles. And there's a couple more networks in the works. Yeah. Great iteration, right? But, folks, I'm changing my entire opening. Instead of the subject that I had in mind, I have 11 minutes, about 11 to 12 minutes of a tearjerker. And the tearjerker is courtesy of one of my favorite basketball players of all time, Mr. Michael Jeffrey Jordan. He spoke at the celebration for Kobe and Gianna yesterday at the Staples Center. I'll have more thoughts on this tomorrow. I promise I will give my thoughts on this tomorrow. But as for today, all I will say is, Michael Jordan, take it away. You'll hear the entire clip. No edits whatsoever. It's courtesy of the Lakers. It's courtesy of ESPN. It's courtesy of KCAL in Los Angeles, and every other station that aired this content. I do not own this. I just thought it would be appropriate to play this right now. And the credit goes out, as I said, a few stations like ESPN, like KCAL in Los Angeles, and everything that's based out of Los Angeles, courtesy of the Staples Center, courtesy of the Los Angeles Lakers. You will hear this in its entirety, and it will take us to our first break. I got Sharif Ahmed on the docket. I have James Smith, a.k.a. Barbershop J, on the docket. And I got a few more excellent pieces to fill out this program. But Michael Jordan, who was introduced by Jimmy Kimmel, that's how the clip is going to start. The floor is yours.
Asked him for tips on his jump shot. Kobe scored 33 points that game against his boyhood idol. Michael scored 36 and won the game too. Please welcome Michael Jordan.
I would say good morning, but it's afternoon. I'm grateful to Vanessa and the Bryant family for the opportunity to speak today. I'm grateful to be here to honor Gigi and celebrate the gift that Kobe gave us all. What he accomplished as a basketball player, as a businessman, and a storyteller, and as a father. In the game of basketball, in life, as a parent, Kobe left nothing in the tank. He left it all on the floor. Maybe it surprised people that Kobe and I were very close friends, but we were very close friends. Kobe was my dear friend. He was like a little brother. Everyone always wanted to talk about the comparisons between he and I just wanted to talk about Kobe. You know, all of us have brothers and sisters, little brothers, little sisters who, for whatever reason, always tend to get in your stuff, your closet, your shoes, everything. It was a nuisance, if I can say that word. But that nuisance turned into love over a period of time, just because the admiration that they had for you as big brothers or big sisters. The questions, the wanting to know every little detail about life that they were about to embark on. He used to call me, text me, 11:30, 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning. Talking about post-up moves, footwork, and sometimes the triangle. At first, it was an aggravation. But then it turned into a certain passion. This kid had passion like you would never know. And it's an amazing thing about passion. If you love something, if you have a strong passion for something, you would go to the extreme to try to understand or try to get it. Either ice cream, Cokes, hamburgers, whatever you have a love for. If you have to walk, you would go get it. If you have to beg someone, you would go get it. What Kobe Bryant was to me was the inspiration that someone truly cared about the way I played the game or the way that he wanted to play the game. He wanted to be the best basketball player that he could be. And as I got to know him, I wanted to be the best big brother that I could be. To do that, you have to put up with the aggravation, the late night calls, or the dumb questions. I took great pride as I got to know Kobe Bryant. that he was just trying to be a better person, a better basketball player. We talked about business. We talked about family. We talked about everything. And he was just trying to be a better person. Now he's got me. I'll have to look at another crime meme for the next. I told my wife I wasn't going to do this because I didn't want to see that for the next 3 or 4 years. That is what Kobe Bryant does to me. I'm pretty sure Vanessa and his friends all can say the same thing. He knows how to get to you in a way that affects you personally, even though if he's being a pain in the ass. But you ever have a sense of love for him in the way that he can bring out the best in you. And he did that for me. I remember maybe a couple of months ago, he sends me a text. And he's saying, I'm trying to teach my daughter some moves. And I don't know what I was thinking or what I was working on. But what were you thinking about when you were as you were growing up, trying to work on your moves? I said, what age? He says, 12. I said, 12, I was trying to play baseball. He sends me a text back saying, and this is at 2 o'clock in the morning. But the thing about him was we could talk about anything that related to basketball, but we can talk about anything that related to life. And we, as we grow up in life, rarely have friends that we can have conversations like that. Well, it's even rare when you can grow up against adversaries and have conversations like that. I went and saw Phil Jackson in 1999 or maybe 2000. I don't know when Phil was here in LA. And I walk in and Kobe's sitting there. And the first thing, I'm in a suit. First thing Kobe said, did you bring your shoes? No, I wasn't thinking about playing. But his attitude to compete and play against someone he felt like he could enhance and improve his game. To me, that's what I loved about the kid. Absolutely loved about the kid. No matter where he saw me, it was a challenge. And I admired him because his passion, you rarely see someone who's looking and trying to improve each and every day, not just in sports, but as a parent, as a husband. I am inspired by what he's done and what he shared with Vanessa and what he's shared with his kids. I have a daughter who's 30 I became a grandparent. And I have 2 twins. I have twins at 6. I can't wait to get home to become a girl dad and to hug them and to see the love and the smiles that they bring to us as parents. He taught me that just by looking at this tonight, looking at how he responded and reacted with the people that he actually loved. These are the things that we will continue to learn from Kobe Bryant. To Vanessa, Natalia, Bianca, Capri, my wife and I will keep you close in our hearts and our prayers. We will always be here for you, always. I also want to offer our condolences and support to all the families affected by this enormous tragedy. Kobe gave every last ounce of himself to whatever he was doing. After basketball, he showed a creative side to himself that I didn't think any of us knew he had. In retirement, he seemed so happy. He found new passions, and he continued to give back as a coach in his community. More importantly, he was an amazing dad, amazing husband, who dedicated himself to his family and who loved his daughters with all his heart. Kobe never left anything on the court. And I think that's what he would want for us to do. No one knows how much time we have. That's why we must live in the moment. We must enjoy the moment. We must reach and see and spend as much time as we can with our families and friends and the people that we absolutely love. To live in the moment means to enjoy each and every one that we come in contact with. When Kobe Bryant died, a piece of me died. And as I look in this arena and across the globe, a piece of you died, or else you wouldn't be here. Those are the memories that we have to live with and we learn from. I promise you, from this day forward, I will live with the memories of knowing I had a little brother that I tried to help in every way I could. Please, rest in peace, little brother.
This is Snowman in the Morning.
Holy on smoke!
Where true sports talk lives.
I like him. He's silly.
Welcome back to the program, folks. And there's a lot more that we have in store for you. So stand by and hold on. And let me bring in one of my other good buddies, the man in charge of Sharif Ahmed Sports Talk, the man Sharif himself. And he's on the line right now. How are you, my friend?
Good. How are you, sir? Long time no hear. You're a busy man, and you're doing good things.
I appreciate that. God, okay. Why do people get upset at me or folks like you and me when I said the All-Star game sucked?
It did suck. and I remember. Go ahead.
I understand them wanting to try a new method. I also understand them honoring one Kobe Bryant. I get that. I understand that. But playing to a score, first of all, you're biting off of Ice Cube's idea, and he patented it. Second of all, you're not giving him the credit for it. And third, the play for the first three quarters still sucked.
It did. It did. And you and I come from the same era. Mm-hmm. You know, I started following NBA basketball probably from the 85, 86 to now.
Yeah.
And when the All-Star game came about, it was an All-Star game. It was competitive.
Yes.
Guys went after it. We didn't have all the other side things like the celebrity games, the skills game. We just had a dunk contest, 3-point contest, All-Star game.
And the All-Star game.
That's it.
That's it.
Exactly. And the thing is about this All-Star game is that, you know, it used to be the fans voting the players in, but then now you get the two superstars from each conference get to handpick the team. There's players that are supposed to be in, that are not supposed to be deserving, that are on the All-Star team, while you have players that are deserving that are not on the All-Star team.
Zach Levine come to mind. Devin Booker.
Yeah.
Devin Booker
was another one too.
Yeah, and he got called as a replacement because Damian Lillard was injured. Zach LaVine, in my opinion, earned his spot on the All-Star team. Plus, he's a member of the hometown team, and he did not get elected. There's a problem with that.
And that's the thing that really upsets me. I don't, it's an All-Star break. I get mad because we don't see games for a week, and it's ridiculous. The dunk contest.
Oh,
the dunk contest.
Oh dear.
I'm an Arizona Wildcat.
Yes.
And Aaron Gordon got shunned again. we can go back to the 2006 dunk contest when Iguodala went underneath the rim with Iverson throwing it off the backboard.
And he didn't win that. And he didn't win that.
No,
that
Nate Robinson.
That should have been Iguodala's contest. That should have belonged
and
to
then
Andre
Nate
Iguodala.
10 chances for a dunk? Yeah, it's ridiculous.
When they did away with the slam dunk contest, I understood all of the fervor and all of the fans being mad. They brought it back. Vince Carter showed off. Jason Richardson showed off 2 consecutive years. Desmond Mason also. Aaron Gordon gets shunned twice out of the slam dunk contest win. Iguodala in 2006 with Philadelphia, and then this year in Chicago, in the house that Jordan built. That was, and fans are going to hate me saying this, even though Aaron Gordon got shunned again. But that was the most atrocious slam dunk contest I have ever seen in my life.
2016 was probably the most creative dunk contest we've had. And I don't think that creativity will ever come back again.
It won't.
They need to do away. It won't. I mean, we're going to get a bunch of rookies that we've never heard of who averages maybe 9 to 11 minutes a game that are going to be in a dunk contest. And those guys are going to be playing for $25,000, $35,000 check.
Right.
There's no more camaraderie. Because back in the day, you had Dominique and Michael going at it, and Vince Carter stepped in the scene, and Tracy McGrady was in a dunk contest. Kobe Bryant was in a dunk contest. I mean, I remember, I'm gonna go way back. The first time I ever saw a dunk contest was in '84 when Larry Nance won it, because I was in Arizona, living in Arizona at the time.
With the 2-ball dunk, that was in Denver. I was at McNichols Arena in Denver. How's that for some old school stuff?
Amen.
How's that for some old school stuff?
That's when I started following the dunk contest, because at the time he played for the Phoenix Suns.
Played for the Phoenix Suns, absolutely.
And it was but now it's just ridiculous, man.
I've spoken so much about how horrible the NBA is, and yes, I said it in that context, and people think I'm nuts when I say that. And I also get, you're just a Michael Jordan fan. No, I'm a basketball fan, and I grew up watching great NBA basketball. The first year I started following was 1980. There was a fellow named Irvin Magic Johnson who did something that has not been repeated, and that is a rookie being a World Championship Series most valuable player. He started for Kareem Abdul-Jabbar in Game 6.
Who was injured?
He was injured. He started for Kareem in Game 6 in Philadelphia when he told his coach at the time, who was Paul Westhead, never fear, Magic's here.
Yeah.
Where is that attitude now?
There isn't. And also, I would like to also chime in on that story when the Lakers when they went to Philadelphia, Magic Johnson sat in Kareem's seat.
Yes, he did.
So he sat in Kareem's seat because he wanted to win that game, and I think he had 42, something like 42 his stat line was 42 points, 15 boards.
42 points, 15 rebounds, 7 assists.
And that, again, that will never ever be repeated again. And if you're talking about Magic Johnson and Larry Bird, that era, they brought back the NBA, because before that, the NBA was atrocious.
They were in trouble. The NBA was in trouble. I mean,
was.
And I think 80 was the last year where the championship series was televised via tape delay. There were still some games up until 1985 that were televised via tape delay. Lakers Nuggets, the Western Conference Finals, and that was just due to programming, and they hadn't reworked the deal yet. That's all that was. But
could you imagine if there was tape delayed now?
Oh my God! I was on a program in 2015, And one of the hosts asked me, what if the Rockets and the Hawks made the NBA Finals? I said, put it on tape delay and put it on NBA TV and charge people for it. Who the hell would buy it? I sure wouldn't.
No.
But the All-Star festivities and the team introductions. Now, let me make this disclaimer. What Common did to introduce the players, phenomenal. If these walls could talk, I have it in my ears every day as part motivation to get me started every day. Phenomenal. Okay? Phenomenal.
Yeah.
But you don't need it at the start of the game when you want to get the players warm.
Yeah. Things have changed, man. And I have a fear that the league, as soon as once LeBron leaves the game, there's going to be a huge decline, like when Jordan left in 98, 99, and from 99 to maybe 2002, it was the time when the NBA just was not watchable. It was not entertaining. There was no polarizing players. So
because Kobe really didn't become Kobe yet, because Shaquille O'Neal flanked him. So that's totally understandable. Shaquille O'Neal, if you want to point to a dominant player from 99 to 2003, it was Shaquille O'Neal with the Lakers.
Shaq. Right.
Okay. But there's no, and I love Shaq. Okay. But there is no back to the basket center anymore in the NBA. I have a problem with that. And it's set.
Yes, there is. It is a problem with that, and we're not going to see it again, probably never. The only way it's going to get instituted if the college game institutes that back again, and it somehow filters into the pro game. But the thing is that basketball is also entertainment, and people like to see the fast breaks, the dunks, the three-pointers, the and ones, and all this, and shaking people off the dribble 25, 30 feet away from the basket. The lane is completely open. Mm-hmm. The referees today, it's a bunch of ticky-tack fouls. I mean, you average. I was watching the game, and I was saying to myself, what's the average possession time, before a whistle's blown? And it's like 6 or 7 seconds.
Right. That
is ridiculous. And when the basketball we were growing up, a lot of folks don't know, there was only 2 officials on the court during the heyday of the 80s. And a lot of the old heads loved the fact there was only 2 officials, because the third, they introduced the third official. Yeah. They introduced that third official. I'm sorry, go ahead, Brian.
He was the third official was the alternate. And he only came on if something happened to one of the 2 main officials, like an injury or exhaustion. Anybody remember the Boston Garden back in June of the 80s? Okay.
Correct.
Gets a little hot in there. Mm-hmm. But that's the only way. That's the only way that the third official, works the game. There were only two officials. What really gets on my nerve, and I've said this on this program, and I think you were with me. You want to know why Golden State gets a lot of hatred right now? Because in the midst of in the parameters of their offense, Stephen Curry figured something out that Russell Westbrook, James Harden have not. He's taken an anomaly, that 3-point shot, and he turned it into a weapon. Consistent weapon. You got folks like James Harden stepping back shooting 43s a game just because he wants to. You got folks like LeBron James shooting 19 threes a game when he doesn't need to. All he needs to develop is a post game. If he ever developed a post game, he'd be the most dangerous player in the world. I've said that, and I'll continue to say it.
Correct. Absolutely correct. And we can also go back and now kids today with the Steph Curry impact want to be like him. They want to shoot like him. They want to dribble like him. They want to wear his jerseys. Mm-hmm. They want to wear his shoes. And the thing is that you're absolutely right. He brought in something that was once back in the late 70s. No, I'm sorry, not late 70s, but during the 80s and early 80s, the 3-point shot was taboo.
It was an anomaly. Remember? It was an anomaly. No one hardly took a 3-point shot. No one hardly took a 3-point shot.
because they were afraid that the percentages of making a 3-pointer were so low, they were in fear of the long rebounds and the other team getting the fast break and starting a run.
And who was the king of that? And who was the king of those teams? The Los Angeles Lakers. If you took a long shot and they had the rebounders underneath, Abdul-Jabbar, later on AC Green, James Worthy, Jamal Wilkes for a time.
Now you're going old. Now you're going way back. But yes, you're absolutely correct. And the thing is, though, that basketball in the '80s, each team they had players.
Mm-hmm.
Each team had a stud. No matter if it was the Los Angeles Lakers all the way to the Milwaukee Bucks, they had, and the old Dallas Maverick teams, they had. Mark Aguirre. They had the Brad Davis, the white guy.
Yep.
You remember him?
I remember Brad Davis.
They had him. Yes, and a lot of and back in the day, everybody ran.
Yeah,
the game was more fluid. The game was, it was more fluid. And today's game is not like that. And I can't watch an NBA game anymore. I really can't. It's just so hard to watch.
It's. You want to know why? People have always asked me, you're from Chicago. Why are you a fan of the Warriors? I'm a fan of the Warriors and the Bulls and the Spurs for this specific reason. They play team basketball. They actually operate within the confines of an offense. More importantly, they actually play a little defense. People don't realize that during the 5 years that the Warriors ruled the West, they were either the number 1 or the number 2 defensive team in the NBA. And people seem to forget that.
Yes. Those are certain statistics that casual fans do not want to hear. And you're absolutely right.
Yep.
You're absolutely right. And the one thing I do want to talk about, now we're talking about NBA basketball, I have been getting a lot of pushback here in Houston about the Rockets. And let me tell you what the pushback I'm getting. There was a stat line, and I don't know if you would have seen it, and I shared it, that these people here in Houston posted that, the Rockets are 8-2 since the trade. Robert Covington is averaging more blocks than Clint Capella. And I said, what kind of stat line is this? I play fantasy basketball, so I pulled up their profiles, and Capella still averages more block shots than Covington does. And Capella's currently hurt right now. Covington is playing in a system where it's going to absolutely fade in the playoffs. That is the one thing I don't understand. Yes, small ball works in the regular season. I get it. But the thing is that when you go in the playoffs, the referees will swallow the whistles more.
Yep.
The little hand checking and the ticky-tack fouls on the drive are not going to get called. The physicality is going to increase. And the last thing, who's going to protect the rim for the Rockets? Tyson Chandler? No disrespect to Tyson Chandler.
None.
But you and I can probably beat him in a foot race, in a suicide right now. Tyson Chandler doesn't even play because he's a liability.
Yes. So, so they're bashing me, saying, you're Spurs this, and it's like, listen, I understand as a diehard Spurs fan, I know when reality hits my team. We're not making the playoffs. Right. Same here.
And I accept that.
Same here. But
the thing is
the same here with the Bulls, the Spurs, and the Warriors. I follow all three. Bill Schoenig's a dear friend of mine, and I plan to have him on the show next week. Bill Schoenig's a dear friend of mine, so I've been following the Spurs. In fact, two of my favorite Spurs of all time, you remember these names, George Gervin and David Robinson. Not to mention Tim Duncan. Not to mention Tim Duncan.
Well, I have an Arizona connection, Sean Elliott.
Sean Elliott, the Memorial Day Miracle.
Yes, he's from Tucson, Arizona, where I was raised. He went to Cholla High School, where he became the all-time leading scorer in Arizona high school basketball.
Mm-hmm.
Went to the University of Arizona, became the all-time the Pac-10 scoring leader.
Yep.
And I know his family, and they're fantastic people. Sean does the play-by-play for
Spurs Television
for Fox. Yeah, Fox Sports South. I think he does all the Spurs games,
mm-hmm.
and And the thing is that I come to the reality that my team's not going to make it. But the thing is, though, when I talk to these fans on my sports page or people at the bar, they're trying to convince me that the Rockets are going to do really well. And I'm telling you, it doesn't work. This is not going to work. And let me tell you this, Brian. There's 4 pillars in the NBA. There are 4 things that I always pose a question to fake Rocket fans, fake Laker fans. I pose these 4 questions.
Number 1.
4 questions in here, successful NBA franchise. Number 1, the owner. Number 2, the front office. Number 3, head coach.
And number 4?
And number 4 is the roster. The Rockets owner wants to win right away. Okay, but doesn't know how to put a team together. Daryl Morey, who's the GM, is an analytics guy. But you trade for Russell Westbrook, who is completely against what your thoughts are and being analytical.
I thought I was the only one that caught a hold of that. You seem to have caught that. You seem to have caught that with me because we've talked about it before.
Yes, and the third thing, the coach is a lame duck coach.
He's done.
Exactly.
He's
and
done.
And then lastly, he's done. And I tell all these Rocket fans, I lived in Phoenix when D'Antoni had Steve Nash, Boris Diaw, Sean Marion, Amari Stoudemire. He had all of that. Yeah. And what did he do? He couldn't win.
He couldn't win. Beat the Spurs in the playoffs.
And the thing is that at the time, that team that D'Antoni had, I think it was in 2007 when the Spurs won.
2007.
They had the best record in the league.
62
and they
and
couldn't
20.
beat the Spurs.
62 and 20. They were 62 and 20 in 2007, and the Spurs
best team in the league.
Waxed them in a 4-game sweep.
Right, and then the roster. Let's Brian, you and I are on the same page when it comes to basketball.
Yes.
Let's look. I'm just going to just start spitting out just names on this team. You got Westbrook, Harden, Eric Gordon if he can stay healthy. Then you got Robert Covington. You have Robert Covington.
Who
and then who else after that?
Exactly. Who's going to protect the rim in May? Okay. The roster, the Rockets roster is good to get them through mid-April, but who's going to protect them at the end of April and May? And I'll throw this on. Cole Johnson's been on this program. You've seen me talk. You've heard me talk to him many times, and he's a big-time Rockets fan. Okay. Here is the problem with Houston. How many times? And I got to bring up the Christmas Day game in San Francisco. How many times has Golden State got in their head?
They beat them 2 out of 3 games. That's what I'm telling people, man.
How many times has Golden State, who plays more small ball than any other team and yet still employs the role of center, mind you, how many times have they gotten in the Rockets' head?
I'm telling you, you're absolutely correct. And the Rocket fans don't see that. They think I'm a Rocket hater. I'm not a Rocket hater.
No,
I'm just telling you the facts.
Spitting facts. The Rockets have had 4 shots in the playoffs at Golden State. 4 of them. Lost in 5 games in 2015, lost in 5 games in 2016, lost in 7 games in 2018, lost in 6 games in 2019. And about those last two playoff losses, the elimination game occurred on the Rockets' home floor.
And wasn't 2018 when Chris Paul, or was it 2018 when Chris Paul went down and they were up 3-2?
Chris Paul, yep.
They were up 3-2. And you're sitting here telling me as a Rocket fan that you're okay with that? I don't get it.
Of course.
I'm trying to speak knowledge to these people, and they think the knowledge is hate. It's not hate. You got to look at your team.
Yep.
With all due respect, who's going to guard Kawhi Leonard? Nobody. those guys will see someone smaller on them. They'll dog them in the paint.
And nobody guarded Steph Curry in the second half of Game 6. He only dropped 33 points.
Oh, just 33 points. Just leave, greatest shooter of all, one of the greatest shooters of the game right now. You leave him. I don't get it, man. I'm just telling you this right now. The Western Conference, and I'm going to tell this to you right now, the Clippers are going to come out of the West. I don't care if they're a 4 seed, a 7 seed. I don't care if they're an 8 seed.
You know what? I have the Clippers coming out of the West also. They'll get a fight from Denver. They'll probably get a fight from Utah, and I think it will wind up being the Clippers in Denver for the Western Conference Finals. I do not trust the Lakers because there are 2 issues they have not addressed. One, they don't have any depth on the bench whatsoever. None.
Nope.
Take a look at the minutes that the starters are getting. Secondly, who's their point guard?
LeBron. Listen, now let me ask you this. Let's put the Clippers and the Lakers side by side, and let's go through my 4 questions, my 4 pillars of a successful NBA franchise.
Okay.
You and I, and we're basketball minds here. Who has a better owner, Clippers or Lakers?
Clippers.
Who has a better front office, Clippers or Lakers?
Clippers.
Who has a better head coach, Clippers or Lakers?
Clippers.
And if you go from 1 to 14,
Clippers.
the entire roster, who has a better roster?
Clippers.
There you go. Are you kidding me? And then everyone is saying the Lakers this, and this. Listen, there's a difference. Doc Rivers prepares his team for the playoffs. Doesn't prepare for now. Great coaches, great front office. You know who's running the front office of the Clippers? You know who was running it, right?
Yeah, Donald Ballmer.
Band. Let's be real.
Yep.
Jerry West. And then you have a basketball junkie.
And who's the other team that Jerry West put together?
Golden State.
That would be the Golden State Warriors.
And you know who else is in that front office who's a basketball junkie? And you know this name? Lawrence Frank. Yep.
He only participated.
He's a basketball.
He only participated in an NBA Final Series. He only participated in a World Championship Series after taking over the Nets mid-season.
Right. But you know what, though, man? I'm going to tell you this. It's going to be interesting right now that the All-Star break is over, and we're going to see these teams come up. And let me tell you one team that's really, really, really surprised me and is currently in the 8th seed in the West. You know who that is? The Memphis Grizzlies. They're playing with house money, man.
What have I said about my 49ers all year? They're playing with house money. Memphis is in the same role. Memphis is in the same role. I'm making this analogy. Memphis is playing with nothing but house money right now. No one expects them to make the playoffs, but watch, they're going to get in.
And they have a 3-game cushion. I think I'm trying to remember who was 9, but I know the Pelicans and the Spurs are like 4 games out, and then I forgot who the 9th seed was. They're like
Portland.
2.5 out.
It's the Portland Trailblazers.
Portland, there you go. You're absolutely correct. And Portland is about 2.5, which in the stretch run, that's a decent cushion. But now the thing about Memphis, I think I heard in one of the NBA shows, now Memphis is going to be playing the top tier teams now coming in the second half of the season.
They're going to see Denver, they're going to see Portland, and they're going to play them both on the road. I just hope, and I hate to say this, and I know I'm going to get a lot of pushback for this, but I don't care. I hope a team puts the Lakers out of their misery so they can actually learn how to put a decent team together. Because this ain't it.
You're absolutely correct. And you know what? Mitch Kupchak did put a good team together. Mitch Kupchak hired a coach for that young team. Okay? And again, everybody, these fake Laker fans are telling me that wasn't listen, you had Lonzo Ball, Brandon Ingram, Josh Hart, and then you had the Zubac kid, the 7-foot skinny center.
Ivica Zubac.
Now, yes, Ivica Zubac. You had that was a young core. They brought in a young coach.
Mm-hmm.
LeBron then comes into the fold
and
with that group.
And all hell breaks loose.
Right. But the thing is that when he came into that team, the team was complete, and adding LeBron on there, they were a four seed.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Now, instead of him dismantling the team, they should have added more veteran pieces to that young core.
Yep.
And they had a lot of money in the cap because now you're spending money on those. Oh, I forgot to add Kyle Kuzma.
Yeah.
There's your 5. And you cannot add to that. Instead, he liquidated those assets to bring in an Anthony Davis, who is on the final year of his contract, and he has already made these cryptic messages that he wants to go back home and play.
You just brought my next point. You just brought my final point. I'm going to have you on more often to talk some NBA and also talk some NBA fantasy as we come down the stretch here if you're interested.
Yes, sir.
Listen,
I'm a fantasy junkie.
Then we will talk. Anthony Davis will not stay beyond this year in Los Angeles. Why, you ask?
I agree.
He wants to go home. Home in Chicago.
Chicago. Thank you.
He wants to go home.
Yes, sir. They liquidated all of their assets because LeBron told the front office to do that, and to basically get Anthony Davis on a rental.
And the Bulls have one of the youngest teams in the NBA. They're going to make a coaching change. They're going to make a GM change. And as soon as that change is made, they're going to roll out the red carpet for Anthony Davis.
I just want to make a huge shout out.
Wants to come home.
Yeah.
Anthony Davis wants to come home.
He sure does. And I want to make a huge shout out to an Arizona Wildcat who's currently on the Bulls team, Laurie Marketing. Arizona Wildcat.
I love Laurie. I love Marketing. I absolutely love Laurie Marketing and what he does. You know what? They have the point guard in the future, the Bulls do, in Kobe White. They just need to give him the ball.
Yes.
Zach LaVine is there. Mm-hmm. He's their captain. He's their leader. Bring Anthony Davis home. Watch.
You're foaming at the mouth right now, I know.
Dude, bring Anthony. He's not the only, and I will say this. He's not going to be the only big man on the move out of the West. Or one's going to move out of the West and into the East. The other's going to move within the West. And I'm putting this rumor out there right now, which means a rumor can be absolutely wrong, and I understand that. But I don't think the Golden State Warriors are done dealing with the Minnesota Timberwolves. Here's what I'm thinking. Karl Anthony Towns will come to the Bay.
That's a good one.
I mean, look, Andrew Wiggins is already in the Bay. They made the move at the trade deadline and got him for D'Angelo Russell. Who's to say
that's a good one
that Karl Anthony Towns will not get out of Minnesota? Because aside of the Bulls, who has a lot of capital right now where they can make a move and make a splash and get back into championship contention? That would be Golden State.
And not fail to mention the salary cap. If I stand corrected, the salary cap is going to go up.
It's going to go up. So who's to say the Dubs won't pull a fast one on the NBA for the third consecutive time? Kevin Durant, DeMarcus Cousins, and now Karl Anthony Towns. Who's to say that the Warriors won't pull a fast one for a third time?
And listen, and here's the thing too. Karl Anthony Towns, as of right now, he is right now in his peak. He's peaking right now.
Yep.
And you're and you know what? I am not going to argue that point. I'm not going to debate that because I honestly can see that happening.
Yeah.
But oh man, I mean,
you think
want
the
to talk
Warriors
about the new
aren't
villains at the end?
You think the Warriors aren't salivating? They're sitting in the cut waiting. The Bulls and the Warriors, I will tell you right now, the Bulls and the Warriors are waiting for this season to be over.
Let me just ask you this question, man. And
Go
this is a
for it.
question that's been bothering me a little bit.
Yeah.
You know, Bickerstaff,
Yeah.
the head coach. Why can't this man not land a head coach? This man, Bernie Bickerstaff's son.
Mhm.
I think he's a junior.
Yeah.
Just correct me if I'm
JB
wrong.
Bickerstaff. Yep.
Yes, JB Bickerstaff. Why does this man gets called upon by franchises, okay, to plug holes in a sinking ship? He gives them what they want. He keeps the ship afloat,
Yep.
keeps the team at 500, or, you know, he might win like 2, 3, 4 games over 500, but doesn't land a job. I don't get, I mean, am I wrong on
Nope.
that?
Not at all. Not
He's
at
young.
all.
He's young. He comes from an incredible, I mean, Bernie Bickerstaff, I honestly think Bernie Bickerstaff should
Anybody
be in the Hall
remember
of
the
Fame.
Seattle Supersonics and the way way they were coached by Bernie Bickerstaff?
Yes. Bernie's that old head that drops knowledge.
Bernie's old school. JB Bickerstaff is just called on, unfortunately, to plug holes, and that will change. You want to know something?
He needs to get a job.
You know what? I'm throwing rumors out there, like these smart asses that are going to, throw something under the, you know how people are in the comments section. You know what they're going to say. Karl Anthony Towns will be in the Bay. JB Bickerstaff will be in the Windy City.
There's another name I want to throw out there that I can see coaching the Bulls. I think Fizdale could be a good fit in Chicago too.
Fizz could coach the Bulls. Fizz will have a young team. Fizz will have a young team.
But you need a young, I don't want to throw but you need a young brother coach in there that has a little bit of weight.
Look, you get no argument from me. You get no argument from me with that.
Fizz
was
got a couple
sitting
championship rings.
Fizz was a sitting duck in New York. Fizz was
don't forget about the Memphis Grizzlies.
Yes.
Yeah, he got the rug pulled under him from Memphis
fast.
And I don't know what it is with Fizz. Give him a young team. Give him give him a 4 or 5 year deal.
Mm-hmm.
Let him at least coach for at least give him 3 seasons to at least, the first year flirt with the playoffs, but then after year 2 and year 3, you got to be in the postseason.
Yeah. Give him 3 full seasons. Give him 3 full seasons. Okay? And be fair about it. Uninterrupted.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. Give him 3 full seasons.
Exactly.
But the coach I think will lead the Bulls will be either David Fizdale or be JB Bickerstaff. You think one of those two won't get the Bulls back to contention?
They're young. They have pedigree. One has hardware. The other one has pedigree from his father.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot to choose from. And the one thing I do want to say that the Golden State Warriors and Steve Kerr, who went to the University of Arizona.
Yes, he did.
The way that they're playing it right now, I think is a stroke of brilliance.
Mm-hmm.
No one is talking about them.
Nope.
They're not making a fuss of. They're not making no excuses for their injuries.
None.
They just opened a brand new arena.
Uh-huh.
And no one has said anything about them.
And that arena is dynamite. That arena, the Chase Center, y'all, is dynamite. It's dynamite.
And I've been to San Francisco once before. I think it's off of Pier 39. I think off the pier, ain't it?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, and I don't know, Brian. It's going back to what we touched on before, man. It's just like these fans are just so. They're just so blinded.
They're not educated. They're not educated.
Yes.
They're not educated. How many times have we said that? They're not educated. They are not educated at all. One final point. Can we please, Adam Silver, you have a job to do. And the job is this. Please bring back the Seattle Supersonics.
Yes.
Can we?
And the only
please,
here's the thing.
Dear God, please. Please.
There's one team that they should entertain to bring back to Seattle. And I just think that there's one team out there that will benefit from that move would be the Sacramento Kings.
Really?
Take the Kings out of I would take the Kings out of Sacramento and make them one, it's not a free agent destination.
Yeah.
No free agents want to go there.
But see, here's the problem. Here is the problem with moving the Kings. They just opened the Golden One Center. If they were still playing at Arco Arena, if they were here's the fans are rabid in the fans are rabid in Sacramento, and I expect Sacramento to be competitive in a couple of years. I really do. The mind of Luke Walton is going to get them back to the playoffs, and 1 year within the next 4, it'll be the Battle of Northern California when you see the Sacramento Kings and the Golden State Warriors play in the Western Conference Finals. The team that should go back to Seattle is the team that was snatched from Seattle, and that's Oklahoma City. The OKC Thunder, the Oklahoma City Thunder, since 2012 has not done a damn thing. They choked a 3-1 lead against Golden State. If they beat Golden State in that West Finals in 2016, they're sealed in Oklahoma City. You would have to start from fresh. You would have to start from fresh because if you want to talk about fans that are miseducated, when Oklahoma City arrived in 2008, not one of them mentioned the Seattle Supersonics. Not one.
And what's sad is they have the titles that Seattle won, too, in OKC.
And they don't belong there. They don't belong there at all.
That would be nice if somebody can swoop that up, just like what the Rams did.
Clay Bennett and David Stern started talking after Hurricane Katrina in 2005. 3 years later, we got a team in Oklahoma City. Nobody sees anything wrong with this picture? Nobody sees anything wrong with this?
The Hornets were playing up there, weren't they? When they were the New Orleans Hornets?
Yep, they were the New Orleans, Oklahoma City Hornets. Because New Orleans needed somewhere to go after Hurricane Katrina in 2005. And this is what gets on my nerves. David Stern saw the supposed, and I truly mean this, supposed potential of Oklahoma City to grow a fan base. That fan base is all in Oklahoma. Every other team in the NBA, including the Nets, including the Clippers, including the Lakers, including the Timberwolves, have fans all over the country. Oklahoma City does not.
Since Russ left.
Exactly. Think about it. They do not have the fan. They do not have the growing fan base that they expected since 2008. And now with them being in their 11th season in Oklahoma City, who the hell is watching them? Let's be real. Let's be totally real. I'll bet you if they were in Seattle, there would be a ton of rivalries for the Seattle Supersonics. I can't call them Oklahoma City. I mean, Adam Silver needs to make 2 moves. One of them I know is going to draw some controversy. The first move, take Oklahoma City, tell them hit the road, and they're going back to Seattle. Rebrand everything as the Seattle Supersonics and take that Oklahoma City Thunder history and destroy it. Because Oklahoma City has basically destroyed Seattle's history after 41 years. The second thing they need to do, I don't care if there's a new arena or not, take the Nets, move them back to New Jersey.
Oh, man.
You want to talk about an NBA? You want to talk about an NBA fan that's a little angry? Look, the Nets had the Prudential Arena.
But they didn't make any improvements to that arena. They tried to get public money to fund that arena, and they got denied. I mean, again, my memory can be a little bit off.
They got denied. But now that the Prudential Arena is up, the Nets can come back. Okay, you tell Governor. There's a few things I'd like to say about Governor Christie, but I won't say them on this program. But Be the. I'm kidding as I say
Wow.
that, but the biggest move I think the NBA needs to make is to bring back the Seattle SuperSonics, please. Bring back the Seattle SuperSonics.
No, you're absolutely right. And the SuperSonics were that team that everyone forgot back in the 90s.
Sean Kemp, Gary Payton, Kendall Gill.
Yeah. Sam
Perkins, Dale Ellis. You want to go back in the day? Dale Ellis.
Tom Chambers. You want to go
God,
Jack Sigma?
Jack Sigma. One of the first big men I ever loved was Jack Sigma.
He had that curl going, man.
Yep, he had the curl. He had the curl going. He had the I understand right now. I am blanking. He had
mullet.
Thank you. That's the exact word I'm looking for. Normally, my wife looks at me for the word, and now I blank out. But he had the mullet going, which means Larry Bird later on had the mullet going. All kinds of stuff, man. Kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah, because they used to play in the Kingdom.
Yes, indeed.
Didn't they?
Yes, they did. They shared the Seattle Center Coliseum and the Kingdom. Who says they can't get funding? Well, there's one private investor now that wants to build the arena for them. Make the vote happen, y'all. Please.
Well, another thing too with the Key Arena is that they also put some money into that because they want to also attract a hockey team out there.
Well, they got the hockey team. The hockey team has been granted. Now let's bring back the Sonics.
Yeah, I think we should.
The hockey team has been granted. Okay, Ray Allen's legacy is entrenched in Seattle, even though he started his career in Milwaukee. Ray Allen's legacy is entrenched in Seattle. Gary Payton, Sean Kemp, all in Seattle.
Don't forget Kevin Durant was drafted by the Supersonics.
Yep, Kevin Durant also. You know something? If they brought back the Sonics, Kevin Durant's out of Brooklyn. Who's to say Kevin Durant's not out of Brooklyn? In a heartbeat.
Or screw it. Just screw it. Just take the freaking Nets and move them out to Seattle.
Just move the Nets out to Seattle.
Golly, we can talk, man. We can talk this junk forever. Because the thing is that you and I see eye to eye on basketball in reality to the fact that we look at it from from the business perspective.
Yep.
And the reality of it. Yes, you're a fan of the team, but a true fan understands when your team is not good.
A true fan understands the game and the teams in it. You know, and I've mentioned I've mentioned the Spurs. I follow them. One of my dearest friends in broadcasting is Bill Schoenig, the fabulous radio voice of the San Antonio Spurs. He'll tell me straight up that the Spurs aren't making the playoffs. And you're supposed to be a fan of your team. This is coming from a guy whose favorite voice, God rest his soul, was Jim Durham.
Mm-hmm.
Jim Durham was my Bulls voice for years.
Yeah. Back in the day. And then,
yep.
Yeah, it's just...
Jim Durham and Johnny Kerr. Jim Durham and Johnny Kerr, man.
Yeah. It's going to be... It's going to be one hell of a stretch run, man. I can't wait till the seedings in both Eastern and Western conferences start to come to fruition, and we get to see who, and then get an idea where they're going to go. Yeah. And it's going to be the playoffs are going to be fun.
Yeah, they are going to be fun, and I need to have you on to talk some fantasy basketball as well.
Please do, because I'm a fan. Yeah, please do.
We're gonna schedule it and we're gonna get it going. Sharif Ahmed joining me here to talk some NBA and how he and I would fix the NBA. Please bring back the Seattle SuperSonics. There's your first. There's your first idea right there. Thanks a lot, my friend. Appreciate the time.
Take care, brother. Thank you.
Man, oh man. You want to talk about some fun? There's some fun for you right there. And Dr. K is mad at me. I got to take a break. Back in a flash.
This is Snowman in the Morning,
I did not need to be told that.
where true sports talk lives.
Excellent.
Can't wait.
Welcome back, folks. Let's talk some baseball, shall we? Now, I told people last year that the White Sox were going to be a problem. And, of course, I got laughed at being a Southsider and being a White Sox fan. But I stayed true to those words, and people started to see it before the injuries happened. This year, there's going to be a lot more of that, as long as they stay healthy. To help me break this down is the voice of the Winston-Salem Dash, a member of the White Sox farm system. This is Mr. Connor Klingen, and he joins me right now. How are you, my friend?
Doing pretty well, Brian. Thanks for having me on.
There is a buzz on the South Side for the first time in a while.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. I was lucky enough last season to see some of these guys come through Winston-Salem. Last year, we started the year with Luis Robert and Nick Madrigal. And you saw it this offseason. The White Sox giving Luis Robert an $88 million contract if all of the options are picked up before he even plays a major league game. So that tells you about the kind of talent he has, and I fully expect him to be the starting center fielder on opening day. And along with that, you have the continued development of guys like Tim Anderson, Yohan Moncada, Lucas Giolito, and Eloy Jimenez, among others. So it's extremely exciting for the White Sox. And I think that they do have a legitimate chance to compete in the AL Central this year. They're going to need things to break their way. They're going to need the Minnesota Twins not to be a record-setting type team again this season. But I do think they have a legitimate chance, and I think White Sox fans expect at the very least for this team to be around 500, if not competing for a playoff spot.
I wouldn't be surprised if these are some wild card contenders this year just on the talent alone. But there is a wild card within the wild card competition, and that's the pitching staff. This is a staff that has grown. Now you add Dallas Keuchel, a former Cy Young winner, to the equation. You have Lucas Giolito, who was an all-star, and then you have Michael Kopech looming on the horizon. So this pitching staff is only going to get stronger. It's like you said, my friend. The Minnesota Twins can't be a record-setting home run hitting ball club, and things will have to break the White Sox way. But considering who they have right now and who they picked up in the offseason in terms of Yasmani Grandal and re-signing Jose Abreu, this White Sox team is creating more than a buzz. There is some excitement on the South Side.
Oh, definitely. And I think, like you said, with the pitching staff, Michael Kopech is someone I really see as a key to the season. Now, there's a good chance that he'll start in AAA coming off of that Tommy John surgery, and he could be dealing with an innings limit this season. But if he is who the White Sox believe he is and who everyone saw that he was in those first few starts that he was able to make in 2018, that could really be a game changer for this team. And I really like the addition of Dallas Keuchel as well, getting a veteran presence in that rotation, because as good as Giolito was last year, we all saw him in 2018 and 2017. He's had his struggles. He's still growing as a major league pitcher. You also have Dylan Cease. These guys all need to learn. They all need to grow, and getting someone like Keuchel is huge for that, as well as Gio Gonzalez, who finally will pitch in a White Sox uniform after they twice traded him away from their minor league system.
Who do you suspect will be the closer for this team? Because since 2008, and more importantly, since 2012, when the White Sox were in front in the Central Division for much of the season, and then they completely fell off because their bullpen was absolutely spent. Who is the closer for this White Sox club to really solidify that bullpen?
Well, I think it'll still be Alex Colomé. He had a pretty strong season last year. You know, the ERA under 3, had 30 saves in 2019. So he had a strong season last year, and there was a lot of buzz that the White Sox were going to get rid of him at the deadline, try to get some more prospects back. And I think the fact that they held on to Colomé last season, it kind of shows that Rick Hahn and company knew that they could contend, and they wanted to hold on to an above-average closer in Major League Baseball, and maybe someone who can even take another step to being one of the elite closers. You can see that sometimes with bullpen guys. You know, he's now entering his age 31 season, but he really could only be getting better at this point. But you go back to 2016, was really a dominant force for the Tampa Bay Rays and their bullpen. But I really liked as well on the bullpen side the move that they made yesterday, giving an extension to Aaron Bummer. He's a great piece as a setup man in their bullpen. One guy who, you know, he's not on that many radars right now, but last season saw him in Winston-Salem, and I expect him to perhaps this season, if not in 2021, become a part of the White Sox bullpen. A right-hander by the name of Cody Hoyer. He is an electric right-handed arm out of the bullpen, and I'd expect him to start the year in at least Birmingham, perhaps Charlotte, and I think he has the potential to maybe become a contributor for this bullpen late in the season.
Talking with Winston-Salem Dash voice Connor Klingon as we break down the White Sox entering the 2020 season and the excitement therein. Who gets the ball on opening day? I would suspect it would be Dallas Keuchel.
You know, there's been rumors about it going either way. It could be Lucas Giolito or Dallas Keuchel. Those are the two prime candidates. That'll be a decision that Rick Renteria and Don Cooper will have to make. Dallas Keuchel does have that experience of being a Cy Young winner, of winning a World Series, so he's been on big stages before. So that's going to be a playoff-like atmosphere at Guaranteed Rate Field, March 26th, when the White Sox open up against the Royals. So perhaps because of that, you may feel more comfortable giving the ball to someone like Keuchel. But Giolito, I think he showed last year that he has the potential to be an ace for a rotation. I think he'd be ready to step up to the challenge to be the opening day starter.
Again, talking with Connor Klingon of the Winston-Salem Dash, the voice of the Winston-Salem Dash. We talked about this front end. Let's look at the front end of the White Sox rotation. You got Keuchel, you got Giolito. Kopech may be coming back. Who fills out this rotation for the White Sox?
Well, we've also got Dylan Cease, and we saw he had his ups and downs last season as a rookie. But he has shown so much potential all the way back from when he was a part of the Cubs system, obviously a part of the Jose Quintana trade. I think he's someone who's going to show a lot of growth this season. He's got that great fastball, got a really good breaking ball as well. A key for him in his development at the minor league level was using that changeup a little bit more, and I think that's something we'll continue to see from him. Reynaldo Lopez as well, kind of a rough season for him last year after he had a pretty strong 2018. And there are people that have suggested on the outside that he's someone who could be moved to the bullpen instead of being part of the rotation. And I think he's still shown flashes of brilliance at times. Last year he had that start where he had 14 strikeouts. So at least to start the season, he's going to be a part of the rotation, and it'll be interesting to see how he works under the pressure, knowing that Michael Kopech is sitting there in the minor leagues and that he's trying to hold on to a spot in that rotation. And Gio Gonzalez as well. I think right now he's probably your fifth starter, sort of on the back end of his career, but he's someone who's going to be consistent. He may not put up outstanding numbers, but he's someone that's going to give you an ERA somewhere around the 4-ish range, 4 to 4.5 range. And if that's your number 5 starter for a major league team, especially with the way teams are playing offensively lately in Major League Baseball, that's great. And Gonzalez is a really experienced guy. So the rotation, I would say, is not as much of a sure thing as the lineup is. We saw what the lineup was able to do last year, and that was without guys like Luis Robert, Yasmani Grandal, Edwin Encarnacion, and Nick Madrigal. But the rotation is not as much of a sure thing for this season. So it'll be interesting to see how guys like Lopez and Cease try to take those steps forward.
Speaking of the offense, let's take a look at this offense and the way it has come together. The young guys, you know what they're going to do for you. How big is the signing, and how will the signing of one Edwin Encarnacion benefit the White Sox?
Well, I would say it's almost automatic that that's going to add 35-plus home runs to the White Sox offense this year. I mean, he just has done it time and time again. He's 37 years old now, but he's most likely going to be the regular designated hitter in the lineup. A little bit of a liability in the field at this point in his career, but he's going to be a really consistent presence in this lineup. And I think what's also exciting about that is when you have someone like Abreu, it remains to be seen where Rick Renteria will place all of these guys in the order, and there'll be changes throughout the season. But just imagine a pitcher facing Jose Abreu, and perhaps coming up next, you have Eloy Jimenez. Do you want to pitch around him? Well, actually, up next, you've got Edwin Encarnacion. So it's the most dangerous White Sox lineup that I can remember in some time. So that's a really exciting thing, and I'm sure Abreu, Jimenez, Moncada, they're all excited to have that additional protection in the lineup.
It's a big, big piece for the White Sox signing veteran slugger Edwin Encarnacion. Let's look at Mount Eloy, as he's often called. Eloy Jimenez, a tremendous season last year. How much better can this kid get?
Well, I think where he needs to take the step forward is in the field. I think he's working really hard this offseason on playing a more serviceable left field. That's probably his main focus. But as you said, with the bat last season, he had his ups and downs early, but late in the year, he came on extremely strong and finishing his rookie season with 31 home runs. I really wouldn't be surprised if he pushes the 40 number this season on home runs. He's that kind of talent. But I think for him, the main focus is getting better defensively, and that's a big key for the White Sox. They struggled defensively last year, and at the end of the day, the teams that make the playoffs, the teams that win the World Series, a lot of that is done with pitching and defense. So I think that's what his main focus is, and I think the Dolphins are going to continue to get better as well.
Man, but looking at that offense, Jimenez and Abreu and Encarnacion have a chance to all have 40 home run seasons. And the last time the White Sox had two players in the lineup that had 40-plus home runs, 2006, Jermaine Dye and Jim Thome. But as my partner just said, it's the defense where the White Sox really need to improve. We'll keep you updated on all of our previews and take you throughout the course of the season. My White Sox correspondent, Connor Clingan, the voice of the Winston-Salem Dash, joining me to talk some White Sox baseball. Thank you very much for the time, my friend. I look forward to conversing with you throughout the course of the season.
Thanks, Brian. Appreciate you having me on.
Man, look, we got some more stuff for you. More baseball as Errol Marks will join me after the break.
This is Snowman in the Morning.
I did not need to be told that.
Where true sports talk lives.
Excellent.
Can't wait.
All right, folks, he's back. This is Errol Marks, the man in charge of Below the Mic and a couple of other shows on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. How are you, my friend?
I'm good, man. I'm back again. I feel so loved today.
As well you should be. Let's dive right in. The floor is yours for the Astros cheating scandal. I want to hear your thoughts on how Rob Manfred dropped the ball on this one.
You know, it's interesting because I thought Rob Manfred is one of the best commissioners in professional sports until this particular situation. You look at the Astros as a whole, as an organization. They have been a good team for the last 4 years. Mm-hmm. Just imagine how many years they've been cheating. This has not been going on 1 year in 2017. This has been going on since 2016. And the same Astros team and the same GM that complained about the St. Louis Cardinals, that had the St. Louis Cardinals GM or vice president of player personnel fired and arrested for stealing things on his computer is absolutely appalling, because when you look at the Astros as an organization, you would think class. You know what I mean? When you think of the Astros, you think of Altuve, Correa, Springer. You talk about a classy organization until you heard that. And then you look at the background of this team and this whole buildup of what happened over the last couple of years. And listening to Mike Trout explains everything. And even Giancarlo Stanton the other day getting interviewed about this whole situation, he said that if I knew a pitch was coming, I would hit 80 home runs a year. 80 home runs.
Yeah.
So you know the advantage of a player, especially a hitter of that magnitude, of an Altuve or a Springer or a Correa or whoever's at, or arguably one of the best third basemen in baseball in Bregman. And my thought to this whole situation, and I'm not talking as a Yankee fan, and a lot of people are going to say, well, you're a Yankee fan, that's why you're going to say this. I speak as an analyst, and analytically, to me, when you look at this whole story, this is even worse than the whole Pete Rose situation. And you talk about Bud Selig, and Bud Selig was the guy that would not let Pete Rose back in baseball. But they have his baseball bat. They have his jersey. They have the baseball. They have even the base that he stole that gave him his, gave him that, I forget what it was, in the All-Star game when he hit the catcher and knocked the catcher out. Yeah. They got all his stuff in the Hall of Fame. But they don't have his plaque and him. Yes, exactly. But you have Bregman, who is arguably one of the best third basemen in baseball, who was up for MVP last year, who is not suspended. They're not touching these guys. No. They're not touching any player on the Astros. None. And that, to me, is the most appalling thing, because I really think when you think of an organization, you talk about Goodell with the CTE and all the things that he was trying to hide all these years.
Right.
Not paying the players, not helping them with their benefits, and all that other stuff. This is even worse than that. Because, and I know everybody's going to say, well, how could you say that? It's CTE. These guys are getting brain damage. Here's the thing. Baseball is what? America's pastime, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you look at football, and in the last 15, 20 years, football has been the number one sport in professional sports here in America.
Yep.
And then you look at baseball, how quick and how grown some of these young athletes, when we talk about Mike Trout, Aaron Judge, Bregman, you have now Darren Cole. Yes, Alvarez, and all these guys we talk about, all these great superstars, and how baseball has transitioned from the strike in 1994.
Mm-hmm.
And then you see Bud Selig. Everybody wanted Bud Selig out because he was a terrible commissioner. He's the one who allowed. He's the one who allowed steroids, and then he took shots at really burying Alex Rodriguez and Manny Ramirez and David Ortiz and all these other guys, all these superstars, because they were doing steroids. Meanwhile, he knew all along that they were doing steroids.
Mm-hmm.
But he didn't want to take responsibility. And now you have guys like Barry Bonds and Roger Clemens, arguably two of the best players at their position in history, sitting looking out from the Hall of Fame.
Right.
Because of steroids. All right? To me, it's appalling when Rob Manfred goes up there and he speaks about baseball and fans, that they should not say anything, that he did the right thing, and he thinks that he's doing the right thing for baseball, and he's helping the integrity of the game. How are you helping the integrity of the game? How the hell is he doing that? I don't understand what he's trying to say. And you want to know something? It's funny because the players now, remember, baseball, the CBA is going to be up in a year.
Yeah.
The CBA is up in a year. And what is going to happen in a year from now? What's going to happen now is the players are going to look at this whole big picture with the whole Astros scandal and say, could we trust this commissioner? Could we trust the owners of the league and agree to terms with them, knowing that they agree with Rob Manfred, or they're letting Rob Manfred get away with this? Who pays the commissioner?
The owners do.
Who pays the commission? The owners do. And the fact that the owners are sitting back and letting the commissioner of baseball say, well, I'm just trying to help the integrity of the game. I did what was right. I fired the coaches. I'm the one who fired the GM. Well, he didn't fire, but he's the one who suspended the GM. He suspended the coach. And then he comes back and he says, well, what do you want me to do? What do you want me to do to the players? How could we suspend the players? What could we do? Here's what you could do. You can, and I said this on your last show.
Yes.
I would take their 5 best players and sit them out for 30 or 40 games.
Mm-hmm.
And what does it do? What does that do? It puts them in the same hole the other teams were when they were cheating. Okay?
Yes.
They've been cheating for years. How many times, how many teams, how many seasons did they screw out teams from making the playoffs? Just think about it.
Yeah.
How many teams were screwed out of the playoffs because of the Houston Astros? And that to me is the most devastating thing as a player, and I'm not even a major league player. If I were to sit back right now, and I'm not even talking about Aaron Judge being screwed out of an MVP because he was. Altuve should not have. Right now, Altuve and the MVP should be going to Aaron Judge. They should strip the MVP from Altuve and give it to Aaron Judge because he should have won the MVP that year.
I'll give you that.
And to me, stripping a trophy from the Houston Astros is not going to solve anything.
Right.
It's not. It's not. What they need to do, what the Major League needs to do, is they need to set a precedent on this. And how do they do that? What I would do is I would force the owner to sell his team. That's what I would do. Because the
NBA did it with the Clippers. I exactly see your point. The NBA did it with the Clippers and the whole Donald Sterling incident.
So did the MLB with the Dodgers.
Yes.
So if they did it to those teams,
why can't they do it to the Astros?
How about what they did to George Steinbrenner when he was caught doing what he did in the 70s? What did they do? He had to stay away from baseball for 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
He couldn't be a part of the organization for 2 years. This is worse than that.
Because the integrity of baseball, the integrity of Major League Baseball has taken a slap in the face and the kick in the balls. Let's just be real.
Absolutely.
It's taken it. Let's just be real. And this is coming from a pure, unadulterated baseball fan. This is the first sport I love. Major League Baseball, several times over since I've been a fan, has taken multiple slaps in the face. But this time, with this cheating scandal, not only is it a slap in the face, but it's a kick in the nuts.
I agree with you. And you want to know something? When you talk about Justin Verlander winning the Cy Young last year, and how about Garrett Cole being the runner-up?
Right.
The third runner-up? You're talking about guys that knew about this.
Yeah.
They knew about this. So they should strip every single award that the Houston Astros have won in the last 4 seasons. Strip it all.
Cy Youngs, MVPs.
You cannot take a trophy away from a team that won a championship even though they cheated. So that's the only thing I would leave with them.
Yeah.
But put an asterisk on it.
Mm-hmm.
Put an asterisk on the year that they won the championship.
They want to put an asterisk to Barry Bonds. They want to put an asterisk to Barry Bonds. They want to put an asterisk to who am I thinking of? Roger Clemens. They want to put asterisks to players, but they don't do it to teams. Why?
Mm-hmm.
This is the perfect time and example for them to do it to a team.
I agree with you, and to me, it's not only hurting the integrity of the game; it's hurting these young fans. When you look at the way sports is growing right now worldwide with the NBA and the NFL, and even the NHL right now is growing astronomically right now as far as numbers are concerned. So, and then you look at baseball, and baseball was the second leading sport in America. Now you have to look at it as a young fan. Do I even want to watch the sport if Rob Manfred is not even going to put the hammer down on the Astros,
on the team that cheated, on a team that cheated, and the evidence has come out, and shows that they cheated. I like your punishment idea. Take the top 4 or 5 players away for 40 games and see how and see how they do. Okay? I like that suspension idea. To a lot of people, it would think they would level it would level the playing field, but at the same time, I'd do it for a year. You want to talk about a level playing? You want to talk about a level playing field? Take a couple of them away for a year. Take a couple more away for the next year. Yeah, they've stripped away. They've taken $5 million away from them. They've taken draft picks away from them. But at the same time, the Astros can make a move to acquire some draft picks. I don't think they're going to be that good this year, but I have been wrong before, and I have a feeling I'll be wrong again when it comes to certain teams. And we're going to talk about certain teams, coming down the line as we head toward the 2020 baseball season. Here's an argument that I've heard, and you and I spoke about the last time I had you on with me. What about people saying, well, the cheating must not have meant much because the Washington Nationals beat them, and they beat them in their house? I'm going to add that piece. Let me get your thoughts on that.
Well, it's pretty simple. Pitching wins championships.
Mm-hmm.
You know why? You know why the Nationals beat the Houston Astros?
They had the best pitching staff.
No matter what they knew what was coming at them, their pitchers are that dominant that they couldn't hit them anyway. So it wouldn't have even mattered. To me, baseball is a pitching sport.
Yes.
If you have the best pitching staff, you have the best chance of winning, especially in the playoffs.
Right.
When you narrow down the talent. And when you look at the whole picture right now with the Nationals, the Nationals just to me it's the most impressive championship any of the teams have won this year was the Nationals, because the Nationals were not expected to win.
They were not expected to get in the. They were not even expected to get in the playoffs, even with Strasburg, even with Scherzer, even with Patrick Corbin, Daniel Hudson, their closer, who was a dominant closer, by the way. They weren't even expected to get in the playoffs. They basically backed their way into the playoffs, and they had to get an 8th inning single from Juan Soto that cleared the bases, plus an error on Milwaukee, to get them into a position where they can compete for a World Series, and that's getting to the Division Series. But what people don't realize, since Game 5 of that Division Series, when the Dodger offense was shut down, and Howie Kendrick rescued the Nationals with a grand slam in the 10th inning, the most dominant pitching staff didn't belong to Houston. It belonged to Washington.
And you know what? When you look at the World Series and you watch the Nationals hoist the championship and just really the excitement of the Washington Nationals, because this is an organization that never won a championship, never won a title, and they were talking about firing their manager early in the season because they were playing crap baseball.
Yeah, they were 19. They were 19-31, and they were calling for Dave Martinez's head. Now he took that and used it as motivation. #finish the fight. And I love Dave Martinez's comments. I have a clip of it somewhere. I'll play it later in the show. I love when Dave Martinez said on Houston's field, we stayed in the I put the quote in front of it. Quote, we stayed in the fight. We won the fight. Close quote. And they sure did. And that pitching staff got him there.
And they didn't cheat either.
No.
And that to me is the most impressive thing out of all of it. They didn't do anything. They didn't cheat. They were cheated on. Let me tell you that. They were cheated on, and even with them cheating, they still couldn't beat the Nationals.
And they lost 4 times. This is the funny part about the Houston Astros. They lost 4 times to Washington, wait for it, in their own house.
And to me, what we have seen and what we and that's the greatest part of all. They were cheating in their house and only in their house, and they barely lost in the playoffs at home. The Astros.
Yeah.
Until they played the Nationals.
Absolutely.
And to me, that was the most impressive thing. And everybody says, well, if the Nationals could do it, why couldn't the Yankees do it? Why couldn't the Dodgers do it? Well,
they didn't have the pitching. They didn't have the pitching. I said this a couple weeks ago on the show. They did I'm so sick of Dodgers fans saying, well, we should have won. We should have won. You got your ass kicked in your house by Washington because they had something you haven't had for years. It's called pitching.
Mm-hmm. You're right. And to me, when you look at the whole big picture with the Houston Astros, it's really despicable. And I'm sorry. This is just as bad as the steroid scandal.
Yep.
This is just as bad as betting on baseball because you're cheating on baseball. You're not betting. Pete Rose didn't bet against his team. He bet for his team to beat the other team.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so he wasn't planning to lose that game.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
So they cheated on baseball. They cheated many different teams, not just the teams that were in the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
They cheated teams that didn't make the playoffs.
Right.
Because how do we know what the Astros record could have been if they didn't cheat?
Right.
They've been cheating the whole season. We don't know what their record could have been. We don't know if they would have even made the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
So
they probably would have finished. They probably would have finished behind the Oakland A's, who were fast, who were coming on strong to
absolutely
try to take that top spot in the American League West. Who knows how many wins? And you just made a great point, and I love that. Who knows if the Astros would have won 107 games if they didn't cheat?
They wouldn't have.
Who knows how many games they would have won? I should have phrased it that way. I apologize. Who knows how many games they would have won?
I'm willing to even bet you that this year Altuve's batting average is going to go down at least 0.20%. I bet you Bregman's numbers are going to go down. The only person that I think his numbers will stay the same as George Springer.
Springer.
He is the only one that I think, no matter what happened, his numbers will still stay almost identical to what they were last year.
And I'm willing to bet Correa's numbers are going to fall below the Mendoza line. I'm willing to make that. I'm willing to make that bet because since 2015 against the Royals, when he kicked that double play ball that should have finished the 8th inning against the Royals in the division series and given Houston that series win. I don't count 2017 now, knowing what I know. Correa's been awful. He's been flat out awful.
Terrible. Absolutely terrible. Horrendous. When they were talking about him being the next A-Rod. So to me, when he was drafted, everybody, this is a guy that was, the number one pick in the draft?
Yes.
And everybody was saying that this guy was going to be the next big superstar at the shortstop position. Him and Altuve are going to dominate the middle infield in baseball for the next 10 years. And to me, I would put an asterisk on Altuve's numbers, Bregman's numbers, and Correa's numbers. And to me, I just think it's a complete joke that when we talk about, everybody talks about the Yankees being the evil empire.
Yes.
And the Red Sox being what they are. They bought their championship. How about cheating?
Yeah. How about
championship?
How about stealing more than signs and cheating to win your championship?
Mm-hmm. To me, you could buy your championship. You spend the money. There are teams out there now. Baseball, it's all about a luxury tax, and if you go over the luxury tax, you got to pay the league. And the league takes that luxury tax money and they give it to the teams that don't have the money that the Yankees, the Red Sox, the Dodgers have.
Mm-hmm.
But
you can put the Cubs in that conversation also when we talk about luxury tax, because since 2016 the Cubs have had to fork over a luxury tax, which takes their chances to get young players that can help keep their supposed dynasty going. And I got a lot more to say about that, and some Cub fans are not going to like it. I'll do that later. But put the Cubs in that conversation also.
Yes, the Cubs are another organization that is a team that has done, in the last couple of years, has done the right thing.
Mm-hmm.
They really have.
Yeah.
They're building their team around youth. That's what the Yankees started doing. That's what the Chicago White Sox are doing.
Yes.
The A's have been doing that. You know, so and I love what the A's are all about. You know why I love the A's? Because no matter who the A's put on the mound, who they put at first base, second base, third base, outfield,
they play hard. They play hard.
They play hard.
They play hard. I just wonder, had they caught the Astros, this would be an entirely. I really believe, had the A's gotten into the postseason, or had the A's survived their wild card game this past year, I beg your pardon, they lost to Tampa Bay. Had the A's survived the wild card game and somehow gotten by Houston, this conversation would not even be had, in my opinion, and Mike Fiers would have kept his mouth shut. And Mike Fiers was on that Astros team in 2017. He knew what was going on for the past couple of years, which brings this question to mind, and here's where we'll close until next time. Why did he take so long to say something?
It's a good question. And here's the thing. How long has baseball known about this?
Right.
That's the question. You know? So I think baseball has known this for years, and they haven't done anything. Because no harm, no foul. That's the way they look at it.
And to a point, with Manfred dropping the ball, they still haven't done anything.
I agree with you. To me, it's a joke. Right now, Rob Manfred should be ashamed of himself because he's got an outcry of players. Your best player, Mike Trout, coming out and saying what he said about baseball. LeBron James speaking up about baseball right now, that he's got to do something. There are other players, other sports speaking up for what the Astros did.
And Manfred's not going to do a thing. Come on, let's be real. Manfred's not going to do a thing. And I will tell you a theory that one of my good buddies, Cole Johnson, a friend of the show, and I'm going to have him on a little later. Here's my theory, and here's his theory, and a couple of others have expressed this to me as well. You know why they're not going to suspend any of the players? 2 reasons. 1, it'll hurt the players' bottom line, and 2, in Manfred's mind, not mine, but Manfred's mind, it'll hurt baseball's bottom line if we don't see them suspended. And it's to a point now where there's an over-under of how many Astros players are going to get beamed this year. As an astute baseball mind like you, I know you caught that.
Oh, I know. And I'll tell you this. By the way, I want to apologize to the fans. I'm in a car wash. But I am an Errol in the car wash. The E-Train in the car wash.
The E-Train in the car wash. Gotta love it.
But I will tell you this. What to me, and what I've read, and the stories that I've read behind what Rob Manfred has said at these press conferences, it wasn't just one press conference. It was 2 of them.
Yes.
He didn't say this once. He said this twice. And to me, when you have Brian Cashman coming out and sticking up for the players and the players' union, to me, that's saying a lot about not only the Yankees, but it's saying a lot about the league.
Mm-hmm.
That now the league's standing forward. They're standing against the Astros. And to me, not only are they going to be beat, they're going to be booed on every single field that they walk on. And to me, I don't care what the players say. I don't care what the Astros say. I don't care what the players that are not even playing in the major leagues right now, like LeBron James is saying. To me, this is a disgrace to professional sports because these players are making millions upon millions upon millions of dollars, and to cheat the fans and really cheat the younger athlete that is trying to get into professional sports in AAA and AA, it's appalling. It's an absolute appalling situation. Do you know how much AAA players are making?
Not as much as major league. Not as much as bench players are making it in majors. Not as much as them.
Right now, if you do the investigation on it, the average professional AAA player is making no more than $40,000. $40,000. a year. These are guys that might never step foot on a Major League Baseball field for their career. And then they have these guys that are all talented in the world trying to find ways to cheat, to be better, to win awards, to be better than the better teams in the league. When everybody compares the Astros to the Yankees and the Red Sox, and I'll tell you this right now, the Red Sox cheated too. They cheated too.
Yeah, they did.
And it's going to come out even more because I believe that the stories are going to come out even more in the next couple of months. The next couple of months that the Red Sox were cheating as well.
And the Red Sox are going to get zapped just as hard, if not harder. And think about this, and we're coming up on a break here. Think about this, and I'll leave you with this thought. Think about this. The Red Sox are going to get zapped. They're going to get zapped harder, and this is coming right up on the 2020 Major League Baseball season. And if you want to throw it back to Rob Manfred, he's getting a big fat curveball to smack out of the yard. My question is, will he take it or will he swing for the downs with the Red Sox?
I think in the long run, the way baseball is pushing this and the way the fans are pushing this, I think eventually Commissioner Manfred is probably going to step down for as the commissioner of the league.
Yeah.
Because this is now tallying not only through Major League Baseball. This is tallying through all the professional
leagues.
You have soccer players from overseas talking about this. You have NFL players talking about this. NBA players talking about it. Heck, even NHL players talking about this right now. And to me, if Manfred isn't going to do anything about it, well, guess what? The fans will. The fans will. So, to me, you can write all the stories you want, and Manfred could say whatever he wants that he thinks is going to help solidify what he is saying about the Houston Astros. Here's my answer. Here's my question, and I'm going to leave you on this to Rob Manfred. If the ball was changed, if the roles were changed, and you were the owner of the Houston Astros, okay? How about this? If you were the owner of the New York Yankees, would you allow the commissioner to sit back and say what he has said on national TV and completely bring down the growth of the sport of Major League Baseball? That's my question to Rob Manfred. If he was the owner of the New York Yankees right now, and he knew that he got cheated, how about the LA Dodgers? He knew that their organization got cheated from a championship because the commissioner didn't step forward and do the right thing and figure out the right way of handling this. Would you be happy as an owner of an organization knowing that your team got screwed?
No.
That's my question to Rob Manfred.
I know I wouldn't be happy. That's the E-Train. Errol Marks joining me here to talk Astros scandal. And now we return you to your regularly scheduled baseball season, and I'm going to have this man on. We're going to do some predictions. We're going to look at all the teams, and I will say right now, and not because I'm a native Southsider, watch the Chicago White Sox this season. We'll get into that in a couple of weeks' time. Thanks a lot, my friend. Appreciate it.
I agree with you. I agree with you. I agree with you on that one.
Watch the Southsiders, baby. Watch the Southsiders. These young kids can play.
They've got 3 young players right now that are going to be superstars in the league. 3.
And one is coming back. And one is coming back from Tommy John surgery. Thanks a lot, my friend. Appreciate it.
Awesome. Thank you.
Man, I will tell y'all right now, watch the Chicago White Sox. They're going to be dangerous. They are going to be dangerous. Dr. K has been telling me for a couple of minutes that we're due for a break. We're going to take one right now, and I'll be back in a little bit. Back in a flash.
This is Snowman in the Morning, where true sports talk lives.
He did what?
I did not need to be told that.
All right, folks, it's time for Keeler's K's. Why is that, you ask? Because Ricky Keeler is on the hotline with me, and we're going to strike out some people. How you doing, my friend?
I'm doing good, Snowman. I unfortunately don't have a piece of metal to give you, but I hope it'll be a good segment otherwise.
Oh, man, I think it's going to be a great segment. Keeler's K's every week, talking baseball here. And let's begin with the obvious pink elephant in the room. That's the Houston Astros. Now, I've had opinions all over the place, but I haven't gotten yours. Now I'm going to. The floor is yours.
Right out of the gate, Snowman, I thought, when I looked at the punishment, I was like, what else could Rob Manfred do? I mean, $5 million was the maximum fine for an owner. He took away first-round draft picks. I thought they should have took international money away, too. And when you realize, look, the MLBPA just has so much power, there was really nothing Rob Manfred could do. And then you look at how non-contrite the Astros are. We talked about it last week, the fake apologies. But we didn't really cheat in 18. We didn't need cheating to win in 17, although Manfred said this week that they did cheat during the 17 playoffs. And you know what? I'm not one for taking titles away because what does it really mean? But you know what? Just because of how non-contrite they've been, I kind of want to take it from them now. I kind of want to say, you know what? You made us do this. You weren't apologetic enough. The players are pissed. Everybody's pissed. We're taking it from you. Here's the problem. We now know the Red Sox are being not reinvestigated, but some people are being re-interviewed, and we still don't know when that investigation comes out. Maybe next week. So if Manfred takes away the 18 championship from Boston, he kind of has to take the 17 championship from Houston. So they're in a no-win situation. Tony Clark gets some blame too in this because yes, he has to represent every player, but all the players are angry at him. All the players are angry at Rob Manfred. Mm-hmm. Rob Manfred stupidly calls it a piece of metal. And the one thing I didn't like, Snowman, this week when Manfred was on with Carl Ravitch last Sunday, and he said we had the intestinal fortitude to release these results, even though they weren't pretty. You want us to pat you on the back because you actually, I don't know, told us what you investigated?
Yeah.
Like, come on. That's like me. That's like saying, oh, I'm going to only tell you if I didn't find anything.
Right.
Okay. I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt, Rob Manfred. Go right ahead. Come on. Like, what is, like, all these teams saying, oh, we told baseball 2 years ago. Where was this? I get it. It's bad for the sport. You can't hide these things. It just makes it worse.
And Mike Fiers should be at the center of this. And in a way, he was until the investigation got started. And all of a sudden, Mike Fiers disappeared. What is wrong with that picture?
Yeah, I've heard David Ortiz today basically calling out Mike Fiers. But if Mike Fiers told people in the A's clubhouse and the A's went to Major League Baseball and Major League Baseball doesn't say anything, and the Yankees go to Major League Baseball and Major League Baseball doesn't do anything, I don't really then blame Mike Fiers if Mike Fiers goes to the Athletic and says, oh, yeah, we've told baseball about this, and baseball hasn't done a dime about it. Mm-hmm. So really, Mike Fiers is kind of like the fourth or fifth elephant in the room, not the first elephant. So I don't see where the blame from Mike Fiers comes in this. If the Astros are playing the A's first week of the year in Oakland, I hope Mike Fiers gets a standing ovation in that game.
Oh, boy. A's and Astros the first week of the – you know what? There's been an over and under line established now that I've been informed by a couple of people of how many Astros batters will get beamed throughout the season. You know what's coming. Will Rob Manfred do anything about it is the question.
Sounds like he is because he's made the case that there are going to be harsher penalties for that, which now if I'm on a team and I get warned before the series and I can't throw inside, aren't I giving the Astros even more of an advantage because I now can't use the inside part of the plate?
Right.
So even if I wasn't going to hit them, which I don't know what some pitchers are going to do, I doubt they would aim for their heads. I think that's crazy. But if you're a pitcher, I don't blame you for being angry, but but you take the under. Was it like 83.5?
Yeah.
There's no way it's going to get close to 83.5.
No,
chance.
It's not. No, it's not. It's not. What made me laugh about this whole situation, the Astros were not contrite in their apologies. You and I talked about that with quite a few other people. What's making me laugh is the fact that they lost the World Series on their home field this past season to, if you think about it, of all teams, the Washington Nationals. Now, how much do you want to bet, my friend, that the Nationals are going to try to get named because they beat Houston in the World Series, and it'll be nothing but Houston fans making the claim? I don't think so. Someone put that bug in my ear, and I want to get your thoughts on it.
It's crazy because I think, look at it this way: the Nationals kind of saved the sport.
They did.
Imagine
they did.
How 5 times this would be if the Astros were 2-time world champions in the last 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
It would be awful. So Rob Manfred should thank Steven Strasburg and Max Scherzer and Anthony Rendon and Howie Kendrick for somehow stealing games 6 and 7 in Houston.
Especially Howie Kendrick. Especially Howie Kendrick for that foul pole home run in Game 7.
Which, how weird is that Howie Kendrick hit the homer off Will Harris, and Will Harris is now Howie Kendrick's teammate? I thought it's a good pickup for the Nationals, but I don't know how Will Harris could sign that. Like, wait, I'm going to sign with the team that beat me in Game 7. That's like 5 times less Kevin Durant.
See, why does everybody got to make a comparison to Kevin Durant, man? What's wrong with it? Y'all kill me with that. Keeler's K's with Rick Keeler on the program today, and let's get to our first division preview of the year. We'll get back to the Astros in just a moment, but it's time for probably the shortest division preview, which is that of the American League East, and it's the Yankees division to lose.
You'd have to say that, Snowman, but at the same time, you look at what the Yankees are going through. You get the big news on Thursday of Luis Severino having loose bodies in the elbow and the forearms getting looked at, and you don't know what Severino barely pitched last year. Now he's battling injuries, the same injury he battled appears in the ALCS. He was going to pitch with soreness in Game 7 of that series, so you wonder what might have happened. It appeared he was fine, and MRIs have come back negative, but I mean, that's a big wild card now because you take Paxton out of that rotation, you take Severino out of that rotation, and it's Cole, Tanaka, Happ, and 2 guys out of their younger players. So really their pitching takes a little bit of a hit.
But it's still the Yankees division to lose. I mean, they finally got, for the first time since Roger Clemens and Andy Pettitte, they actually got a frontline starter. And when I say a frontline starter, the two names I mentioned, Andy Pettitte and Roger Clemens. First time since those guys that they actually have a frontline starter, which of course is Garrett Cole. Are they going to try to sign somebody else?
I don't think so. I mean, Cole is their biggest pitching acquisition since you could argue CC in 09. I would say it's probably the closest thing to since Garrett Cole, but I think they also went out there. If they go out and get a pitcher right now, it's going to be like a Chad Bettis type where they just got somebody on a minor league deal that can compete for a back-end starting job because I think they trust in Cole and Tanaka enough. They trust in the bullpen enough. They still have a really good lineup. It doesn't sound like Aaron Judge's injury is too serious, and he'll get back on the field in a week and start swinging the bat, so he should be fine. It is the Yankees' vision to lose, but if there's more injuries that pop up like last year, Tampa Bay is no slouch either.
True.
I think it's a 2-team race in the AL East, but I do think the Yankees have a significant gap.
How far will the Boston Red Sox sink? And there are 2 reasons I'm asking this question. 1, to get your thoughts on it, and 2, because of a very selfish reason. I have a couple of friends that are big-time Boston Red Sox fans, and they have been preaching to me all offseason, hey, the Red Sox are going to bounce back. Would you please put this to rest for me?
Well, let me ask you, if I could ask your friend this, what defines bounce back? is bounce back? I mean, what were they last year? 84 and 78.
Yeah,
they have the makings of a team that's gonna go, I think, 84 and 78 again. They've got a pretty good lineup even without Mookie Betts. You still got Benintendi, Devers, Bogarts, JD, Bradley, who's not a really good hitter, but we'll get Verdugo back at some point. The problem for the Red Sox is their rotation. Outside of Chris Sale, who do you trust? Nathan Eovaldi's battled injuries. Eduardo Rodriguez is okay. Martin Perez they added, but he's okay. They don't really have a great bullpen. Like Brandon Workman's an okay pitcher. He's not a great closer. So really with no elite closer for the last 2 years, Chris Sale's their ace coming back from injury. I don't really see the team as being more than a team that barely gets over 500. They don't really have a guy at second base unless Chavis continues to dissolve well because Justin Pedroia is done in all likelihood. I just don't see where the wins are coming from for the Red Sox. Maybe they compete for a wild card, but they are nowhere near the Yankees right now.
No, they're not, and I don't even trust Chris Sale at the front of that rotation because of all the injuries, which makes me glad as a White Sox fan to finally see why we got rid of Chris Sale in the first place, because now all of those injuries are starting to pile up on him.
And you don't have jerseys that you can worry about being cut up anymore.
No, we don't. We don't. We don't like that culture in the clubhouse. Who brings up the rear of that division?
Oh, it's got to be the Orioles. It's not even close.
I love it.
I feel bad for Orioles fans. I really do. But I mean, Trey Mancini is a good player. Who knows if he gets traded? You could see a guy like Michael Gibbons.
I think he's out of there. I think Mancini's out of there.
Mancini could be gone. I think their closer Gibbons could be gone.
Yep.
Teams are always looking for bullpen help.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, John Means had a nice year in that rotation last year. They've got some young players to watch. I mean, obviously, if you're an Oriole fan, I'd buy the MILB package and just watch Adley Rutschman games over and over and over again because he's the next greatest thing at catcher. They have good pieces. I would look out for another guy that Ryan Mountcastle I like a lot, one of their younger prospects, but They are still a ways away from being good. So it's really just if you're the Yankees or the Rays, the Yankees did it last year. You could practically, hopefully, win every game against the Orioles. What, like 16-3 last year against the Orioles or something like that?
Yep.
It's going to take that to get the number one seed in the American League. So really, if you want to decide the East, who beats the Orioles the most? It's almost as simple as that.
And how far do the Blue Jays go? Do they make any strides this year?
You know, Snowman, I thought about this, and I was like, I could make a case for the Blue Jays to finish third. It's a long shot because they're coming off 67 wins. They did get Hyun-Jin Ryu in the offseason, who battles injuries. He doesn't really get to 30 starts. We'll see how consistent he is. They add Chase Anderson. They add Tanner Roark. So they have veterans in that rotation. Ken Giles is still there as the closer, so that helps. And you get another year of Bo Bichette, another year of Kevin Biggio, another year of Vlad Jr. You got Travis Shaw in the offseason who should help. Gurriel Jr.'s there. There's at least a good starting block. Like, I could see the Blue Jays getting close to 500, and one guy you want to keep an eye on in the Blue Jays system is Nate Pearson.
Mm-hmm.
Nate Pearson is one of their top prospects. He was in, I think, got a couple starts in AAA to end last year. He is a guy that lights up the radar gun. If he comes up in the second half, he's going to be fun to watch. So this is a Blue Jay team I wouldn't want to play in August or September because I think that's when they'll sort of find everything and maybe get closer to 500. They're going to be one of the more improved teams. You just really can't tell it in the American League.
Yeah, that's true. It's the Yankees division to lose. That's how we see it. How do you see it? Tweet the show. Follow us at SNW Digital Media on all of our social media platforms. Ricky Keeler and Keeler's K's joining me every week to talk some baseball as we get y'all ready for the 2020 season, and we tell you and bring you through our predictions of who will face the Nationals in the World Series. And I'm putting one big prediction out there. Thanks a lot, Ricky. I appreciate the time.
Thanks again, Snowman. Anytime.
More, I say, in a flash.
This is Snowman in the Morning.
Holy on smoke!
Where true sports talk lives.
I like him. He's silly.
All right, folks. I have been wanting to get this gentleman on the hotline for a long time, since he and I have been friends, because he shares the same thoughts that I do when it comes to the National Basketball Association. So y'all are going to have to forgive me and my buddy in advance if this turns into a rant session. This gentleman is the host of the Barbershop Sports Report, and he is James Smith, and he joins me right now. How are you, my friend?
What's going on, man? Glad to be on.
Finally, I get you on here.
Yeah. It's all good. Yeah, you know, life is hectic, man.
It is.
Went through some life changes this last year, and I'm still kind of, trying to recover from it. But, I'm alive, man. I can't complain. So,
hey, no complaints either. All right, let's get into this. You and I have been talking a while, and we get a lot of pushback on some of the same things that we post about when it comes to the NBA. Here's a prime example. Do these millennial fans actually know what a travel is?
Of course not. But, before we go any further, of course not. Come on now. What's already understood need not even be asked. Hey, but before we go any further, I do want to just point out just a slight correction. It's the Shop Report.
The Shop Report.
Is
okay.
What the name? Yes, the Shop Report. And my sports moniker is Barbershop J.
Okay.
Just a little side note. Last year, Facebook and I got into whatever that we got into, some sort of thing. I had another account. They locked me out of the account and told me I couldn't use my sports moniker anymore. Why, I don't know. So they forced me to use my Social Security name, I guess. But yeah, Barbershop J is my sports moniker.
Okay, so I slipped on that. I apologize for that. But
no, man, you good, man. It's all part of the industry, man, or the business, if you would. But
do people actually know what a travel is? And I point out two offenders, frequent offenders, James Harden and LeBron James.
Of course. Man, listen. I mean, here's the sad part is, and I tell people this all the time, man. We can have a difference of opinion.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And this might be a bad analogy, but I'm gonna throw it out here. When it comes to ice cream, okay, you might like Rocky Road, and I might like butterscotch, whatever it is.
Right.
That's different, okay? But the bottom line is, it's still ice cream.
It is.
You understand what I'm saying? You can't argue the fact that it's ice cream.
Exactly.
So people try to act like what we seeing the same thing, but you can say, yeah, man, it's a travel, but they ain't calling it now. Okay, that's true. But to say, they ain't a travel, and the dude then took 45 steps, and then in the case of LeBron in particular, I can't even remember who they was playing, man, but it was a game, and they done posted it on Facebook 1,000 times. The video, he was standing at the top of the key for 35 minutes. Then he gonna walk from the top of the key to the free throw line and then start dribbling.
I think that was against
and
Utah.
People making excuses.
I want to say that was against Utah because I got that notification the next morning, and I pulled it up and I looked at it, and my mouth went through the floor. And my wife turned over and looked at me, and she says, "What did you see now?" Because she just saw this look on my face. And she feels the same way I do. The NBA has not been the same since the old school era went bye-bye, when people actually knew the frickin' rules, when people actually played the game for the love of the game.
Yeah.
I showed her that exact clip, and she looked at me and she goes, "I know I don't watch basketball as much as you, but that doesn't look right at all."
Isn't that something? Yeah. I mean, but at the end of the day, what's sad?
He walked across the timeline, stopped his dribble, took 3 extra steps, and then dribbled again, and no whistle, none.
Yeah. Well, the rest, their hands are tied somewhat too, though, because they've been getting a lot of flack. The NBA in general, they're doing too much. This 2-minute report, in an effort, you're trying to manufacture transparency.
Right.
And that's what make you all the more suspect, if you ask me. Everybody wants, and then the fans, what they fail to realize is they are victims to the pageantry.
Yes.
And not the point. The NBA ratings are down. I don't care what nobody say. You know what I'm saying? But that seems to come and go in an instant.
I've been saying that all year. You and I have talked. I've been saying all year that the NBA ratings are going to be through the floor, and people think I'm crazy.
Yeah.
People still think I'm crazy. Like, wait till the playoffs start. So what?
Oh my goodness.
They're still going to go. They're still going to be through the floor.
Well, I'm not saying you or I are either. But the folks thought Jesus was crazy. So it's far for the course. You know what I'm trying to tell you.
Yeah, it's
true.
You
know what I mean? But the problem, I think, in large part, is the fans in particular. Again, because you and I on Facebook, like you said, once before I used to kind of respond to just about any and everything. But you had to stop doing that. I really started reading the comments. Some things are silence speaks the loudest.
Mhm.
You don't need to say nothing on everything because
Yeah.
you see, it's pointless talking to people whose opinions are subjective, but they act like they fact. You get what I mean?
Right.
If you look at the NBA now, in my estimation, yes, it's dunks and all. You still got all of your, the highlight elements that you had from back in the day. But in terms of the nuances of the game, the fabric of the game is sorely lacking.
It is.
Everybody want to put up these points, who's a better player, as if though how many points per game a guy average is the sole barometer or determination for how good or bad a guy is. No.
Yeah.
I say stop comparing LeBron to Jordan and who lost in the finals or who lost in the first round or whatever the case may be. I'm going to speak on that here in a second. But focus on how many bad possessions do you see in the today NBA is what I like to call it versus the old school NBA.
Yep.
You understand
Absolutely.
what I'm saying? How many shot selections you see are terrible based on situations? Because, see, that's what made the old school game different. And then, again, these fans who want to talk about LeBron apologists is what I call them. And this whole thing going back and forth with Mike and all of this kind of stuff is really pointless.
You've seen me in the middle of those arguments. I bring out the facts, and people still think I'm nuts.
Of course, man. Come on now.
And I'm going, look, I lived through the Jordan era. I know what you guys are trying to compare, and there is no comparison. Trust
me. No, there's
me.
none whatsoever.
I've seen it.
Unless you saw it.
Unless you watched the era, the golden era, as I like to refer it to, unless you watched any part of the golden era from 1979 to 1998, you haven't seen anything. Period.
Yeah.
You haven't seen anything.
Yeah. No question about it. That's why I don't even really go back and forth with people anymore because willful ignorance is an affliction for which there is no cure.
Man, that's
But I
the
will
truth.
say this, though, about the NBA. My eyebrows have been raised a bit with Zion, Ja Morant, and some of this new crop of folks that's coming through here because in the case of Zion in particular, I was not sold on him completely because, I never really got a chance to watch him play except for my oldest son is really, he's into the newer hoop. He knows all the shoes and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
And with my work schedule, he would keep me filled in on who was doing what, high school ballers and mixtapes and so on and so forth.
Yes.
So he kept talking about this guy Zion. And I was like, man, all right. So the first time I got a chance to actually watch him was against Eastern Michigan when Duke was playing Eastern Michigan.
Yeah.
And they dominated Eastern Michigan. I said, oh, okay. Then the second time, I got to see them play against Duke against Gonzaga. And I see Hachimura, and I tell my son, if Zion is what you think he is, then we'll see tonight because Hachimura was nothing to play with back in Gonzaga anyway.
Exactly.
And he dominated, Hachimura did. So I said, look, man, I don't know about that. But for whatever reason, his game so far, I'm totally, I didn't see that at Duke. I really didn't see that at Duke. And he has a fundamental game to him as well as Ja Morant.
Yes.
The NBA sorely needed these guys, man, because it's all three ball and nothing else.
What have I said often? You and I have talked often. What have I always said? What is the one word I keep bringing back to, hopefully, to this lexicon? Fundamentals. I don't see any. You know why Golden State gets hated on so much? Because the fundamentals they exhibit are within the parameters of their offense. You know why Golden State gets much hatred? Because Klay Thompson and Steph Curry have taken an anomaly, which is the three-point shot, and they've turned it into a weapon. I've said it for 5 years. And people still seem to think, Golden State's down this year, but when you're down your two best players and you lose a third to free agency and you got all the injuries that you've had to deal with, I've actually heard people say, you ready for this one, that Steve Kerr is a fraud as a head coach.
Yeah, I've heard that too, and I won't sit here and lie to you. I give Mark Jackson more credit for that Warriors system than I do Kerr. However, Kerr's influence, if you would, I believe is more so like Phil Jackson's in that when Phil and Tex Winters were together.
Right.
Phil, and you can't underscore it now, by no means.
You really
Phil
can't.
was more so a coach of ego than he was X's and O's. And I see more of Kerr than I do that. Not saying Kerr's not an X's and O type guy,
right?
But I see him more in the way of how Phil was. Tex Winter designed that triangle offense.
He did.
A lot of people don't know that. You know what I mean? And he orchestrated it too. You know what I mean? But Phil kept Kobe and Shaq, you know, them personalities. Because you can have all the talent in the world and have the best game plan for whatever. But if the personalities are riffing, then it causes a rift in whatever it is you're trying to do execution-wise, and you don't win. So you need that just as well. You know what I mean? But don't get it twisted.
Right.
Golden State is one of them kind of teams. They don't. They just reload. They don't rebuild. They reload. They reload.
And they're going to be
you
loaded
can't stay on top forever.
And they're going to be loaded next year. This is what people don't understand. They're going to be loaded next year. I put a rumor out there, but I put a rumor out there, and you know the pushback I get when I put rumors out there, and they actually become fact. In 2016, after the Warriors lost to Cleveland, and I got a whole bunch of flack saying, the Warriors lost. They're not worth anything. Yeah, did you see the way that the Cleveland Cavaliers got one hell of a stimulus package? If Draymond Green plays Game 5, it's a 5-game conquest, and everybody knows that.
Yeah.
You weren't supposed to suspend Draymond Green in the finals. You're supposed to suspend him in the Western Conference Finals if you go by the letter of the law. But people don't want to. People don't want to see that. I think you were one of the first to comment and said it's all about the money, and it's damn true.
Yeah,
it is all. It is all about the money. People want to see a 7-game series. Who would want to see the 73-win Warriors? We're talking about 2016, folks. Walk over the Cleveland Cavaliers, which they did 3 out of the first 4 games. I mean, the first 4 games were decided, except for Game 7. I believe this to be correct. Except for Game 7, every one of those games was decided by double digits. And it should have been a 5-game conquest. It should have been a 5-game conquest. LeBron doesn't go crying to the NBA like he usually does. And yes, I said it, and I've said it multiple times. He goes crying to the NBA. Next thing you know, Draymond Green is facing a suspension he never should have faced. Period.
Yeah.
He never should have faced that suspension.
But you know what, man? In all honesty, when I saw that definitely was significant.
Mm-hmm.
But I peel the onion back a little bit deeper. Style of play is the basis for my main argument for what we're seeing now versus what I grew up watching. These guys, every day, all day, talking about working on their game.
Mm-hmm.
When you go to the gym to work on your game and all you're doing is working on your three-point shot, that's not working on your game.
It really isn't.
I'll give you an example of what working on your game is. What Lonzo Ball did.
Right.
He went from shooting his shot underneath his chin to shooting over the top, and it's effective, highly effective. Add into the fact that he's a solid point guard anyway.
Yeah.
That Pelicans team might be here for a while. Just keep your eye on them. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I'll give you that. Yep.
Yeah, I'm just not. You know, that series was more so the mindset of a hooper versus a guy who played backyard basketball when they're having a barbecue is if I get a lead, you're not getting it back.
Right.
The Warriors had a 3-1 lead. And if you go back and really look at that finals and how they started to lose that lead, they started to do things that I won't even say were uncharacteristic. They just started to not respect the situation. And that's another thing about the era I grew up in. In the playoffs especially, every possession mattered.
Yep, every possession
mattered. You saw Steph doing stuff like Ginobili did in the finals.
Mm-hmm.
Who was Ginobili throwing the ball to, man?
Exactly.
Who was he throwing the ball to?
You know, another thing.
You know what, man? Arnold Rothstein.
Yeah.
Is what it looked like.
Mm-hmm. It does. It does look. It does look like that. And here's another thing that really gets on my nerves. There are no centers. There are no back to the basket centers.
Yeah, every game that went global now.
Yep, there are no back to the.
Is the key to success, so to speak.
Yeah, I mean, there's. I grew up. First center I watched was Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Captain Skyhook. Robert Parrish. Okay, Moses Malone. If you want to call him an undersized center, so be it. But he was a center, doggone it. We're talking about folks like Dikembe Mutombo, Alonzo Mourning. Hell, let's go a little further. Patrick Ewing, who was my first ever favorite college basketball player, but then Michael Jordan showed up that same night in 1982, and that was that. I love both of those guys.
Yeah.
I love both of those guys.
Yeah.
Akeem Olajuwon.
Don't forget Rick Smith.
Rick Smith. Thank you. Rick Smith, the dunking Dutchman.
Yeah, don't forget Rick Smith.
I mean, Rick
and
Smith's-
while you're playing, Arvydas Sabonis,
Sabonis with the Portland Trail
And the
Blazers.
thing about him, people don't realize he came into the league late.
Yes. He was 30.
He was maybe
was
at late
30
20s, early 30s when he came into the league, man.
I want to say he was 31 when he made his debut
Maybe
with Portland.
so.
I think it was 30. I may be wrong, but he was 31 when he debuted. Okay, back to the basket centers. Why are you playing around David Robinson?
Yeah.
Why are you playing around Mark
I'm
Eaton?
not a fan of him. I cannot stand David Robinson. And it's kind of somewhat personal because what Navy did to Cleveland State.
Okay, there you go.
I'm old enough to remember the 1986
Oh,
NCAA
I remember.
tournament.
I remember that.
Yeah, when Navy beat Cleveland State 71-70. 71-70. It was
Yep.
real controversial towards the end. Yeah, it was real controversial, man. And
I
you know what I
remember
mean?
that.
It was one of them, man, seriously, y'all they win on that right there. Okay, whatever. Because Cleveland State they had just knocked off Indiana.
Yep, they
a Bob
just beat
Knight Indiana team. You know what I'm saying? They was coming.
And I want to
They
say
wasn't gonna
that
let
was
that
in.
upstart.
I want to say that was in Syracuse at the Carrier Dome. I want to say that was at the Carrier Dome.
Yeah, I can't remember the venue. Yeah, I just remember the
I
moment.
I believe it was the Carrier Dome where that upset happened, where Cleveland State knocked off Indiana. But
yeah,
I mean, there's so much fundamentally missing. There is so
no
much
question.
fundamentally missing with the NBA, and
no question.
I got a lot of pushback when I said, and I will continue to say, the All-Star game sucked. And
you think this year's All-Star game?
It's
you think?
For me, it's been that feeling since 2005, when the glitz and the light and the glamour started showing up.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, you're talking about a game mindset, and I totally understand it. The game mindset was this for the All-Star game: let's get introduced and let's go. You don't need the lights, you don't need the sizzle, you don't need the smoke, you don't need people introducing you. You just need the regular PA announcer who works at the arena to introduce you, introduce all the All-Stars, and let's go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, when I read and I talked about it on my show last week, or the last 2 weeks, the whole new format. Prior to actually seeing it play out,
right?
My host and I, we were incredulous. Like, why they just didn't just put one team in purple and one team in gold, 1-8 and 124.
1-8, yeah.
Go ahead and do it.
Yep.
You know what I mean? But in all honesty, as a purist, once I saw how it played out, I actually like the idea. You know, it gives them incentive, and it's the first time in a long time. I will say, it seemed like the players towards the end were playing with more fervor.
Yeah.
You know, with more energy or more intensity. So I appreciated that. But again, man, you know, at the end of the day, basketball to me is just one of them sports where, unlike football and boxing and whatnot, you don't always have to. You can be effective without really being in contact with somebody. You get what I mean?
True.
So having a respect for craft, like I said, it's too many guys who handle the ball, who are getting adulation, who are terrible at the free throw line. You understand?
Would you
that
repeat
makes
that
absolutely
again?
no sense to me.
Would you repeat
and
that
then the Brown
again?
apologists.
Wait a minute. Would you repeat that again for the folks in the cheap seats at Market Square Arena? Would you repeat that for me, please?
Yeah, this whole idea, man, dudes want to be, you know, everybody wanted to be a 99 on 2K, but you can't hit free throws. I just don't get it, man. You know what I mean? You want everybody, he to go. But you can't, and that's another thing about the whole Jordan Bron argument. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
One thing you could say about Mike, you could count on him.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? But you tell me right now, ask anybody, and I still have yet to get a response from anybody. Be honest. For all the Brown apologists especially, you can't even count on your boy in the moments that matter most at the free throw line.
Nope.
But he'll go.
Nope.
Then they want to talk about how Jordan lost in the first round. And this is how vast accurate their argument and the philosophy and their logic is.
It's backwards.
Jordan lost in the first round.
Yeah.
But LeBron lost in the finals. The operative word in both cases is lost. So how can you point out one that lost and your boy done lost? You know what I'm saying?
I would rather. I've had so many guests on this show. One of my dear friends, Cole Johnson, who's on this show often.
Yeah, I like CJ, man.
Yeah,
He and I, we got to get together.
And I'm going to get both of you together on the show. We're really going to break this down. I like it. I liken it to this. I would rather take my losses in the first round than the World Championship Series. And I do not call it the final. I do not call it the finals anymore. After this past year, when Toronto beat Golden State, fair and square, by the way, for all you LeBron apologists, 4-2. It's a world champion. I've always called it the World Championship Series. More so after this past season, 2019. I would rather take my lumps and grow every year. And people, if you look at the scope of Jordan's career, basketball career, from 1985 to his first retirement in 1998. Yes, he lost in the first round, 3 consecutive years to the Boston Celtics. But starting in 88, he beat Cleveland in the first round, lost in the East semis to the Detroit Pistons. 1989, beat Cleveland 5 games, beat New York 6 games, lost in the East Finals to Detroit 6 games. 1990, beat Milwaukee in 4 in the first round. Won the second round against Philadelphia. That took 5 games. Lost in 7 to Detroit. 1991, swept the Knicks, beat the Sixers, swept Detroit, won the World Championship in 5 over the Lakers. This is what LeBron has been missing for his entire career. Progression. He hasn't had any.
Yeah. You're a terrible GM, too.
Oh, God.
And I saw people over there talking about he's going to be running for president. I'm like, yeah, okay. Let me get some popcorn first.
If he runs for president, I'll get the popcorn and the snacks. I'll sit back and watch this. I'll sit back and watch this election and laugh the whole darn time.
Yeah. The league is, it's such that, man, again, I got 2 boys, 18 and 16, and they grew up hooping for their school and stuff like that. And, we always sat down. They really didn't like me coming around to sit down and watch a game because Kobe Bryant called it, may he rest in peace, him and his daughter and everybody that was involved in that tragic accident.
Yes, indeed.
Kobe Bryant had a thing called detail.
Yep.
I wouldn't have named it that. But I have an appreciation for the details because if you want to have the most success at what you're doing, then you have to study it like nothing else. When you're watching a game, what do you see? You have to base what you're seeing. Film study, it should be, let me say it this way, it should be based on, in my opinion, the situation. What is this? And every situation is different. And when you run yourself through that situation in practice, when you get it to the point where it's purposeful, you won't panic.
Exactly.
There's an expression that says practice makes perfect. I disagree. Practice makes permanent. No man can be perfect at anything. That's why we make mistakes.
Yes. And
to try to say we can be both that's ludicrous. You got to either one or the other. And you make mistakes, you can't be perfect is my thing.
Right.
So don't even shoot for perfection. Shoot for permanent. That means if I do it this way, regardless of the situation, 9.5 times out of 8, it should turn out that way.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Now, sometimes the ball go in and bounce out. Okay, well, the law averages. All right, bam, it happened.
Yes.
But like you said, you get back up and you do it again, man. These new players, they want more, but they want to do less.
Yes.
But they want the same credit for the guys who did the most.
Oh, God, yes.
It makes absolutely
none.
Blank
sense. Exactly.
None whatsoever, man. You know what's really sad? What's really, really sad? And I pointed this out to my sons as well. I said, let's go pick any day that, the NBA, maybe 4 or 5 games in the NBA are coming on, mostly like a Tuesday or a Thursday.
Yes.
And it's maybe 3 or 4 games. I said, let me just look at the slate of games and tell me which one are you rubbing your hands together because you can't wait to see. None of them. None of them.
None.
But guess what?
None.
Let this Philadelphia 76ers be playing the Boston Celtics in the middle of the season in 1988
or
89.
God.
Man, we made sure we did. Man, I used to make sure I did my chores and all my brothers and sisters' chores.
Man,
you understand what I'm saying? Because I was not trying to miss a moment. Man, these games now and then
the old Boston Garden.
Of course,
either the Boston Garden or the Spectrum in Philadelphia.
And man, come on now.
TBS before TNT took the NBA contract in, I want to say 1995. TBS had the NBA contract because TBS had the NBA for a long time. Turner Sports had the NBA for a long time. TBS was airing it first. When TBS,
NBC had games too, didn't
yep, they? NBC, CBS had it for a while. I started watching it when it was on CBS. When TBS would air a rivalry game, i.e., I don't know, Pistons Bulls from Chicago Stadium, and the second game would be Celtics Lakers from the Forum, not the Great Western Forum, not the Staples Center, but the fabulous Forum. My chores were done. My homework was done. I'd go to my sister Nicole saying, hey, you need any help with anything? No, I'm all right. Because when that clock moved to 7 o'clock or 8 in the Eastern time zone, game time.
Game time. And you know what? Since when did since its inception, when did League Pass start offering to sell or for folks to buy just the fourth quarters of games? When League Pass first came out, League Pass was $25 million for the season. You know what I'm saying?
Yep, it sure was.
You can $2.99. You can buy the fourth quarter. And why is that? Ain't nobody watching them first through third. How many times have you watched an NBA game with guys that everybody on one hand want to argue who in the top 10, and then on the flip side, the teams that both of them guys play on in a game, 3 or 4 or 5 minutes go past, and ain't nobody hit a shot.
How many times have we seen that though? How many times have we seen that in today's NBA? How many times have we seen in today's NBA, like you said, a scoreless streak that lasts in upwards of 5 minutes? We can go through and I've been at NBA games. We can go through 2 scheduled media timeouts in a full quarter, and no one has scored. I've seen it happen.
Yeah, it's terrible, man.
It is.
Don't make no sense, man. But everybody want to sit and rant and rave. I mean, I get it. I still watch it.
Right.
I love the sport.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I grew up playing the sport, man. I grew up playing the sport at a time when, how good you were was a lifesaver.
Yes.
You could move through certain neighborhoods that you otherwise might not have been able to survive in had you got caught in it at night. You know what I mean? Or at the wrong time of day. They'd be like, hey, man, no, didn't you play at such and such park? Yeah, man. Oh, he good, man. He good. Dude got nice J work or something. And I'm not patting myself on the back, I'm just saying, it was just a respect for craft, man. Growing up, that these dudes nowadays, I ain't never seen nothing like that, man. I never seen nothing like it. These dudes working on that game, and everybody want to work on. It's amazing how everybody stays out on the perimeter on offense.
Yep.
It's just amazing to me, man. The overabundance of threes taken. Going back to that Cavs-Warriors finals, that I think the Cavs and Warriors combined in game 3 or 4 shot like 81 three-pointers or something like that. It was something crazy.
Goals. Yeah.
Yeah, it was
81 3-point field goal attempts. Man.
That's insane, man.
Oh, man. I'm glad I finally
You're playing the popularity and not to the game.
They're not playing the game. They're playing the popularity. They're playing to the popular mode. And that's just not that just doesn't work. For me it just doesn't work. I mean, and we'll close with this point because I got to have you back on again. When you had 3-point specialists, it was different. Craig Hodges, Reggie Miller, Steve Kerr, Trent Tucker for the Knicks, Jeff Hornacek when he was with the Phoenix Suns for a while, Hersey Hawkins with Philadelphia.
He was with Utah too. Yeah, Hersey Hawkins in Seattle too.
Seattle, yep. Andrew Toney with Philadelphia.
The Boston Strangler.
Yeah. Anybody that remembers that nickname given to Andrew Toney remembers the year. And I'll throw that trivia question out a little bit later on in the program. He's the man in charge of the Shop Report, James Smith, joining me, Barbershop Jay. We're going to use that mock on this show and give him the love he deserves.
Sir.
Man, it is a thrill and an honor to have you on, my friend, and I got to have you on again.
Yes, I appreciate it. Can I say one last thing, though?
Go for it.
Those players back then, you say three-point specialists, I think they just were good shooters.
Yes.
Reggie Miller had a drill in particular. He called it the in and out drill, where he would go from 2 feet to 5 feet to 7 feet to 10 feet to 9 feet. He just was a good shooter. He said that way when I went out to the 3-point range, the shot was basically automatic.
Yeah, it was easy. It was easy.
Appreciate you for having me on, man.
Hey, thank you, brother. Appreciate the time.
All right. Have a good one.
Man, it just seems that the game has changed so much and not for the better. And that, to this old schooler as well as a few others, is a big, big problem. The NBA's got a big problem on their hands, and they have to find a way to solve it. And it's going to fall on the players, yes, but it's going to fall on some of the coaches, too. Got to take a time out. Got more for you after this.
This is Snowman in the Morning.
I did not need to be told that.
Where true sports talk lives.
Excellent.
Can't wait.
Welcome back, folks. Let's talk some baseball, shall we? Now, I told people last year that the White Sox were going to be a problem. And, of course, I got laughed at being a Southsider and being a White Sox fan. But I stayed true to those words, and people started to see it before the injuries happened. This year, there's going to be a lot more of that, as long as they stay healthy. To help me break this down is the voice of the Winston-Salem Dash, a member of the White Sox farm system. This is Mr. Connor Klingon, and he joins me right now. How are you, my friend?
Doing pretty well, Brian. Thanks for having me on.
There is a buzz on the South Side for the first time in a while.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. I was lucky enough last season to see some of these guys come through Winston-Salem. Last year, we started the year with Luis Robert and Nick Madrigal. And you saw it this offseason. The White Sox giving Luis Robert an $88 million contract if all of the options are picked up before he even plays a major league game. So that tells you about the kind of talent he has, and I fully expect him to be the starting center fielder on opening day. And along with that, you have the continued development of guys like Tim Anderson, Yohan Moncada, Lucas Giolito, and Eloy Jimenez, among others. So it's extremely exciting for the White Sox. And I think that they do have a legitimate chance to compete in the AL Central this year. They're going to need things to break their way. They're going to need the Minnesota Twins not to be a record-setting type team again this season, but I do think they have a legitimate chance, and I think White Sox fans expect at the very least for this team to be around 500, if not competing for a playoff spot.
I wouldn't be surprised if these are some wild card contenders this year, just on the talent alone. But there is a wild card within the wild card competition, and that's the pitching staff. This is a staff that has grown. Now you add Dallas Keuchel, a former Cy Young winner, to the equation. You have Lucas Giolito, who was an all-star, and then you have Michael Kopech looming on the horizon. So this pitching staff is only going to get stronger. It's like you said, my friend. The Minnesota Twins can't be a record-setting home run hitting ball club, and things that have to break the White Sox way. But considering who they have right now and who they picked up in the offseason in terms of Yasmani Grandal and re-signing Jose Abreu, this White Sox team is creating more than a buzz. There is some excitement on the South Side.
Oh, definitely. And I think, like you said, with the pitching staff, Michael Kopech is someone I really see as a key to the season. Now, there's a good chance that he'll start in AAA coming off of that Tommy John surgery, and he could be dealing with an innings limit this season. But if he is who the White Sox believe he is and who everyone saw that he was in those first few starts that he was able to make in 2018, that could really be a game changer for this team. And I really like the addition of Dallas Keuchel as well, getting a veteran presence in that rotation, because as good as Giolito was last year, we all saw him in 2018 and 2017. He's had his struggles. He's still growing as a major league pitcher. You also have Dylan Cease. These guys all need to learn. They all need to grow, and getting someone like Keuchel is huge for that, as well as Gio Gonzalez, who finally will pitch in a White Sox uniform after they twice traded him away from their minor league system.
Who do you suspect will be the closer for this team? Because since 2008, and more importantly, since 2012, when the White Sox were in front in the Central Division for much of the season, and then they completely fell off because their bullpen was absolutely spent. Who is the closer for this White Sox club to really solidify that bullpen?
Well, I think it'll still be Alex Colomé. He had a pretty strong season last year. You know, the ERA under 3, had over 30 saves in 2019. So he had a strong season last year, and there was a lot of buzz that the White Sox were going to get rid of him at the deadline, try to get some more prospects back. And I think the fact that they held on to Colomé last season, it kind of says that Rick Hahn and company knew that 2020 was the year they could contend, and they wanted to hold on to an above-average closer in Major League Baseball, and maybe someone who can even take another step to being one of the elite closers. You can see that sometimes with bullpen guys. You know, he's now entering his age 31 season, but he really could only be getting better at this point. But you go back to 2016, was really a dominant force for the Tampa Bay Rays and their bullpen. But I really liked as well on the bullpen side the move that they made yesterday, giving an extension to Aaron Bummer. He's a great piece as a setup man in their bullpen. One guy who, you know, he's not on that many radars right now, but last season saw him in Winston-Salem, and I expect him to perhaps this season, if not in 2021, become a part of the White Sox bullpen. A right-hander by the name of Cody Hoyer. He is an electric right-handed arm out of the bullpen, and I'd expect him to start the year in at least Birmingham, perhaps Charlotte, and I think he has the potential to maybe become a contributor for this bullpen late in the season.
Talking with Winston-Salem Dash voice Connor Klingon as we break down the White Sox entering the 2020 season and the excitement therein. Who gets the ball on opening day? I would suspect it would be Dallas Keuchel.
You know, there's been rumors about it going either way. It could be Lucas Giolito or Dallas Keuchel. Those are the two prime candidates. That'll be a decision that Rick Renteria and Don Cooper will have to make. Dallas Keuchel does have that experience of being a Cy Young winner, of winning a World Series, so he's been on big stages before. So that's going to be a playoff-like atmosphere at Guaranteed Rate Field, March 26th, when the White Sox open up against the Royals. So perhaps because of that, you may feel more comfortable giving the ball to someone like Keuchel. But Giolito, I think he showed last year that he has the potential to be an ace for a rotation, and I think he'd be ready to step up to the challenge to be the opening day starter.
Again, talking with Connor Klingon of the Winston-Salem Dash, the voice of the Winston-Salem Dash. We talked about this front end. Let's look at the front end of the White Sox rotation. You got Keuchel, you got Giolito. Kopech may be coming back. Who fills out this rotation for the White Sox?
Well, we've also got Dylan Cease, and we saw he had his ups and downs last season as a rookie. But he has shown so much potential all the way back from when he was a part of the Cubs system, obviously a part of the Jose Quintana trade. I think he's someone who's going to show a lot of growth this season. He's got that great fastball, got a really good breaking ball as well. a key for him in his development at the minor league level was using that changeup a little bit more, and I think that's something we'll continue to see from him. Reynaldo Lopez as well, kind of a rough season for him last year after he had a pretty strong 2018. And there are people that have suggested on the outside that he's someone who could be moved to the bullpen instead of being part of the rotation. And I think he's still shown flashes of brilliance at times. Last year he had that start where he had 14 strikeouts. So at least to start the season, he's going to be a part of the rotation, and it'll be interesting to see how he works under the pressure, knowing that Michael Kopech is sitting there in the minor leagues and that he's trying to hold on to a spot in that rotation. And Gio Gonzalez as well. I think right now he's probably your fifth starter, sort of on the back end of his career, but he's someone who's going to be consistent. He may not put up outstanding numbers, but he's someone that's going to give you an ERA somewhere around the 4-ish range, 4 to 4 or 5 range. And if that's your number 5 starter for a major league team, especially with the way teams are playing offensively lately in Major League Baseball, that's great. And Gonzalez is a really experienced guy. So the rotation, I would say, is not as much of a sure thing as the lineup is. We saw what the lineup was able to do last year, and that was without guys like Luis Robert, Yasmani Grandal, Edwin Encarnacion, and Nick Madrigal. But the rotation is not as much of a sure thing for this season. So it'll be interesting to see how guys like Lopez and Cease try to take those steps forward.
Speaking of the offense, let's take a look at this offense and the way it has come together. The young guys, you know what they're going to do for you. How big is the signing, and how will the signing of one Edwin Encarnacion benefit the White Sox?
Well, I would say it's almost automatic that that's going to add 35-plus home runs to the White Sox offense this year. I mean, he just has done it time and time again. He's 37 years old now, but he's most likely going to be the regular designated hitter in the lineup. A little bit of a liability in the field at this point in his career, but he's going to be a really consistent presence in this lineup. And I think what's also exciting about that is when you have someone like Abreu, it remains to be seen where Rick Renteria will place all of these guys in the order, and there'll be changes throughout the season. But just imagine a pitcher facing Jose Abreu, and perhaps coming up next, you have Eloy Jimenez. You want to pitch around him? Well, actually, up next, you've got Edwin Encarnacion. So it's the most dangerous White Sox lineup that I can remember in some time. So that's a really exciting thing, and I'm sure Abreu, Jimenez, Moncada, they're all excited to have that additional protection in the lineup.
It's a big, big piece for the White Sox signing veteran slugger Edwin Encarnacion. Let's look at Mount Eloy, as he's often called. Eloy Jimenez, a tremendous season last year. How much better can this kid get?
Well, I think where he needs to take the step forward is in the field. I think he's working really hard this offseason on playing a more serviceable left field. That's probably his main focus. But as you said, with the bat last season, he had his ups and downs early, but late in the year, he came on extremely strong and finishing his rookie season with 31 home runs. I really wouldn't be surprised if he pushes the 40 number this season on home runs. He's that kind of talent. But I think for him, the main focus is getting better defensively, and that's a big key for the White Sox. They struggled defensively last year, and at the end of the day, the teams that make the playoffs, the teams that win the World Series, a lot of that is done with pitching and defense. So I think that's what his main focus is, and I think the Dolphins will only continue to get better as well.
Man, but looking at that offense, Jimenez and Abreu and Encarnacion have a chance to all have 40 home run seasons. And the last time the White Sox had two players in the lineup that had 40-plus home runs, 2006, Jermaine Dye and Jim Thome. But as my partner just said, it's the defense where the White Sox really need to improve. We'll keep you updated on all of our previews and take you throughout the course of the season. My White Sox correspondent, Connor Klingon, the voice of the Winston-Salem Dash, joining me to talk some White Sox baseball. Thank you very much for the time, my friend. I look forward to conversing with you throughout the course of the season.
Thanks, Brian. Appreciate you having me on.
That'll do it for this edition, folks. I want you to have a great day. God bless. Remember to make your next move your best move. And always remember, if your dreams don't scare you, then they are not big enough. Dream big, do bigger. I am, and I hope y'all are too. Till next time, Snowman out.